All right, folks, I think we're going to be starting here in a minute. If we could have everybody come grab a seat. I know, he's going to turn it up. Is that better? Can you guys hear me? A little bit more. There we go. That's much better. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started in just 1 minute. So if we can grab our seats, if there are any. Looks like we have a full house tonight. So hopefully we can get through some of these upfront items and get a seat for everyone. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for being here. This is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. I'm going to go ahead and call our regular city council meeting to order. And Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report from our closed session?
We do not.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, if you would, please call roll.
Councilmember Dinas.
Here.
Councilmember Estrada.
Here.
Councilmember Sobek.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Here.
And Mayor Zimmerman.
I'm here, thank you. And so is Pastor Grace Obot here? There she is. Hi, Pastor Grace. If you would come to the podium, and I know you are here to provide some words of inspiration. For those of you who don't know Pastor Grace, she is with Unity Beth Nathaniel Church here in Menifee. Welcome.
Thank you. I just want to thank God first and say you must be doing something good, because I love what I'm seeing, the crowd. I'm thankful to God. So we bow our heads while we give thanks to God. Father, we commit the gathering, the meeting unto you, and I come with the heart of praise and thanksgiving for the city of Menifee, for what you are doing in the city of Menifee. And we continue to commit the city of Menifee to you for the safety, for the workers, for the council people, for the residents, for the mayor, and all the families in the city of Menifee. I decree, I declare, I say, may the Lord continue to bless the city of Menifee and the residents and the businesses of Menifee. May the Lord bless and keep. May the Lord shine his beautiful face upon the city and the citizens and the work and the activities of the city. And may the Lord lift up his beautiful countenance and look to this city and continue to bring his favor and shine his favor. And the covering of the Lord remain with this city, and the name of the Lord be planted upon this city, and may he be gracious to us always, according to his righteousness. We thank you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name we have prayed.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. We appreciate you being here tonight and your words of inspiration. All right, we are now going to quickly stand for the flag salute. I'm going to ask Bruce Atwood. He's one of our senior advisory committee members. Bruce, if you'd lead us, please. Excellent, thank you. Okay, council members, let's come on up front because we have some presentations, and I'm going to ask our outgoing Parks, Recs, and Trails Commissioner, Tom Gidroyce, to join us up at the front. So let's head on up. Check, check. There we go. So for those of you who don't know Tom Gidroyce, he is one of our Parks, Rec, and Trails commissioners. He's been a commissioner for how long?
That long, 7 years.
7 years. He's also a county Parks and Rec Commissioner as well. Tom has lived in the city many years, kind of in the northern part of our city, and it's so important to have residents who live in this community that care about this community. Tom and his wife Sue are equestrians, and they understand the need for connectivity between our trails, especially for horses and things like that. That is our lifestyle. He wants us to hold on to that, and we all agree with him. And so thank you, Tom, for your many years of service. I know there's some other great things for you. My wife and I are twisting your arm to join our historical group and be one of the docents over there at the museum and things like that. So again, Tom, we as a council wanted to just congratulate you and share some praise for your years of service with this city. I'm going to pass the microphone to my colleagues because I know they have a few words to say.
Oh, I'm glad I get to say something. I was remembering a moment when we were opening the new park in Quail Valley, and Art Welch from the state senator's office looked around and said, I think we should start calling Menifee the city of family parks. Right? And everybody looked around and said, wow, that's a great idea. But it's because of your forward thinking and your action on the commission that has really made that happen. So for everybody who loves all the parks in the city of Menifee, this is the guy to thank. So well done.
Well said. Tom, I just want to say thank you for all the years of service that you have put in on the Parks and Trail Recreation Committee. And you've been there since the beginning. Yes. You have a lot of institutional knowledge living in the city. You've sent me emails about plants to check out, maybe endangered species. And you are going to be truly missed on that commission. And it's a loss for us to lose that institutional knowledge. And I just want to thank you for all your service.
Thank you. Very welcome. So I just say that, you've been a mainstay to our Parks Commission, and not just as a commissioner, but you've been so supportive. Every time we had a grand opening, every time we had some kind of a special event going on, there you were. I mean, you have supported our city, and we're better for it. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Tom, for your service. I haven't known you as long as all the other council members, but I've always watched your meetings, and I've appreciated the knowledge and the experience that you brought to those commission meetings. And it's going to be missed. I understand you're still going to be involved in the city, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. So, Tom, I think you probably have a couple of things to say before we present you this proclamation.
I just want to say that Menifee is a great town to live in, and I'm happy that I was a part of making this place what it is today. And as I look around this room, I want to thank everyone, because everybody here has collaborated in making this place what it is. It's a great community, and I wish it nothing but the best, and I will still be around. Thank you.
Let's give him a hand. So, Tom, today we're honoring you on this 15th day of February 2023, and we just want to share that this says that your commitment to the residents of the city of Menifee is greatly appreciated, and we congratulate you and wish you the best. Thank you for being such a great public servant.
Thank you.
Yes, let's take a picture if we can. Okay, next up, we'd like to have Anne Marie Novak come join us up here at the front. I'll share a little bit of background here. Every month, the City Council chooses someone to be the Citizen of the Month. We look for people who give back, people who service above self attitude, the ones that work behind the scenes and don't usually get recognized, and we recognize them. And so that's what we're doing today. Each council member gets to choose. This month was the honor to me to be able to choose someone, and I chose Anne Marie because for many, many years I've been seeing you as the one behind the scenes, carrying boxes, setting up tables, decorating for an event, doing all of those kinds of things. And that's why I chose you to be Citizen of the Month. And I'm going from memory here, but I know you're part of our Lake Menifee Women's Club. You're our Senior Advisory Committee member. How many Lake Menifee Women's Club members do we have? All of them are in the back. And I know you live in the Oasis, and they have an HOA there, but there's lots and lots of committees, and I know you've been involved in that as well. You do a lot of fundraising events, things that help our Boys and Girls Club and some of our other local community groups. You're part of our Interfaith Council. I'm just thinking of all of the things that you do, and so this is the reason why we wanted to honor you today. So again, I'm going to pass the microphone because I know my colleagues want to share a few words.
Embry, I think you've been involved in the city longer than I have, and you make me look bad. So we're going to give you this award so you stop. And we know you won't. So I just want to thank you for your energy and the positive attitude that you bring to the city and the inspiration you are to the rest of our citizens. Thank you so much.
Anne-Marie, I think you moved here after you retired. Yes. And that's when you got involved. As soon as you were retired, she moved into the Oasis. And I just, as the mayor so beautifully said, I just want to say thank you. You know, it's residents like you that make us a better city. If we all do a little bit, a lot gets done. And we find our niche and we go for it. And that's what Anne-Marie has done. She retired and she did not let that stop her. She just started a direction in a different way. So you are well deserved of our Outstanding Citizen of the Month. Congratulations.
Well, the mayor's gone through the long list already, so all I have left to do is brag that you're my representative on the Senior Advisory Committee. So that's all I got to say.
Well, Anne, it definitely takes leadership qualities to be named the Citizen of the Month. And we appreciate you here in Menifee for standing up and doing selfless tasks that sometimes don't always go recognized. And we appreciate your selflessness, your integrity, and the time you put aside for our city. Congratulations.
Okay. I hope you guys don't mind. I have a little bit of notes because I start getting really fast and sound like Minnie Mouse. Here's the first of my 20 pages here. Good evening, and thank you to the mayor and the city council for recognizing this, me and for this great honor. I actually represent a large group of people in our community, someone who just likes to lend a hand. I love my adopted city of Menifee, its vibe, its beauty, and its wonderful people, several here who I'm blessed to call friends. I'd also like to thank my mentor, the hardworking Gloria Sanchez, who gave me opportunities to learn and how to best serve our fantastic senior community. Working on the Senior Advisory Committee as Dean Dinas' appointee has been both motivating and exciting as we find ways to improve the quality of life for all types of our seniors. It's been great working with the incredible Aisha Jemmett Wilson, woohoo, and her community services team, coming up with creative ways to serve our seniors. Also, I've been working with the admirable Michael Reinhardt and the amazing youth leaders of Menifee. The last several years as the Senior Advisory Committee liaison to that team has been eye-opening and exciting. Our local teens are so accomplished and caring. They are our future. I'm proud to be part of this intergenerational effort. I've also learned more about our city's vulnerable populations by being a member of the Menifee Citizens Advisory Committee and the Lake Menifee Women's Club, who fund and support our local nonprofit organizations. And to close, if you'd like to do something for our seniors or children, it'd be very much appreciated. And I've given you a couple of easy ideas you might consider. When you're out shopping, you might want to pick up a gift card at your grocery store or one of the local stores here and drop it off at the Cases and Arrows front desk. I can tell you that this simple gift will bring such joy and is priceless to our sweet seniors. Also, if you have a new or gently used board game, you can drop it off at the Lazy Creek Center, and it will give kids from tots to teens something to do on an indoor day. Thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you. Wait. Those are a couple of absolutely great ideas, so thank you. So this is Outstanding Citizen of the Month Award, and it says, we appreciate your positive impact to the city of Menifee, and we thank you and we encourage you to continue your outstanding volunteering efforts, especially with our Lake Menifee Women's Club and our Senior Advisory Committee and all of the other things that you're doing too. So we're honoring you today, the 15th of February of 2023. Congratulations, Anne-Marie. Thank you for everything you do. And I want to just do a special thank you to everybody who came here to celebrate with Anne Marie. Take her out, go have some fun. She deserves it, but thank you all for being here. It really shows how much you care, and you all appreciate her just as much as we do. And great job, everybody. So thanks for coming. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. All right, council members, we're going to stay up front because we have our business spotlight. And Gina is on her way up, so I'll share. But if we could have our friends from Barron's Market join us. That is the district manager, Sergio Guzman, and the Menifee store manager, Sherry Zamora. If you're here, if you'd come on up and join us, because Gina is going to be saying some very, very appreciative words about this great market that everybody loves so much. So, Gina?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I'm just so elated to see everybody here tonight for our business spotlight. Thank you all for coming out. This is great. I knew we were doing a great job with our marketing. So our business spotlight program is a free business recognition program for our local businesses to say thank you for those that are going above and beyond the call of business each and every single day. And with that, those that are recognized receive this beautiful proclamation. Thank you, Vanna. A free promotional video that we do work in conjunction with the business themselves that they can use to promote our Menifee business. We do press, we put it in our Menifee Matters, we put it on our website, and it's just, we go above and beyond in trying to market and say thank you to those businesses that are supporting our community. So for February's Business Spotlight, as you all know, it's Barron's Market. And a little bit about Barron's, but Barron's is a family-owned and operated mom-and-pop specialty grocer, if you did not know that. Right, mom-and-pop specialty grocer. The store offers a fresh salad bar, large variety of toppings, olive bar, hot soup bar, hot foods bar, for those that lead a busy life and still want to enjoy a healthy meal. Barron's Market's high standards influences everything that they do, including where they choose to expand their business. And I'll repeat that, not everybody has a Barron's, you guys. The local grocery store is admired Menifee's community-focused mission and knew that the city was a perfect fit as they witnessed how it advocated for small businesses and the community's success. Not only zealous to support the health of the community, but Barron's Market is also passionate about championing future generations. The business has supported local schools such as Kaye Kirkpatrick Elementary School, Evans Ranch Elementary School, Santa Rosa Academy, and they've also supported local organizations such as Lake Menifee Women's Club, Menifee Valley Little League, the Menifee Community Cupboard, the Animal Town Sanctuary, Mrs. B's Table. I can go on and on. Thank you, yes. Menifee is extremely proud to honor Barron's Market as our business spotlight that goes above and beyond the call of business each and every day. And for those of you that do not know, but I thought this was really intriguing, so you can correct me, but what was really neat about Barron's Market is the products that they do carry, they actually sample. So they don't carry everything that a grocery store does because they actually hand select the items that are there. And actually, if you have a product and there's another product that comes in, you will be outbeat, and they only carry the highest quality products on their shelves. It's quite remarkable what you guys do. So with that, we'll roll the promotional video that they worked on, and then we'll hand over the mic.
Barron's Market is your neighborhood market right here in Menifee. We hand select every item at Barron's to ensure our customers get the highest quality food at a competitive price. We make sure your family has healthy food without breaking the bank. Our fresh salad, hot soup, and olive bars are perfect for quick and tasty meals. Barron's Market is proud to be in the Menifee community. Barron's Market. Simply good food, simply good prices.
She's handing me the mic first. First of all, I'm so happy that we're going to award this to you today. A business like yours is exactly what the people of Menifee have asked for, and you've answered the call, and you've joined the community, and you've been everything we've hoped in a market like yours. So thank you very much for giving the people of our community such a quality place to shop and to stay healthy and to really integrate yourself into the community. So I'm really glad you're receiving this. I'm going to pass it over to the mayor.
I was there at the grand opening, and to see what you have done and what you've become in Menifee is just wonderful. And I just want to thank you again, as as Councilmember Carwin said, that you've integrated yourself into the community and you're making a difference. You're making a difference in people's and children's lives, and I just can't say thank you enough for that. And shop at Barron's, it's really good.
I'll concur with that. Yeah. I also remember when the grand opening, we were there, and the excitement, and that excitement hasn't ended. People are just really excited about coming shopping there. Now we know why. You got all the best stuff in town. And if you ever need a sampler, just saying, I could be available from time to time.
So we just had the strategic visioning workshop here at 3 o'clock at City Hall, and part of that vision was a unique identity. And Barron's fits into that, the unique identity, mom and pop shop, bringing groceries that you can't get anywhere else. And it's been cold out, so I might stop by to your soup bar tomorrow. Okay. Congratulations.
That was well said. So let's do a round of applause. How many of you love Barron's? So do we. We were so excited to have a specialty grocer come and bring those unique things that they bring, and it's just one of those kinds of retailers that elevate the entire city because you're here. So thank you so much. I know we have a nice proclamation, and I'll have Councilman Carwin read it, but I want you guys to share a few words as well, if you will.
We would like to say that it is an honor, and we are a family, small family-owned market, and just thank you so much for everything, and we appreciate being in the Menifee community, and we appreciate you and your family's business. So thank you for everything.
Well, we've put together this certificate for you that hopefully you can display and always remind all of the employees and customers at Barron's that the city of Menifee is behind you. It says right here, this award is presented to Barron's Market in recognition of your dedication to the Menifee community and your continued commitment to improving the quality of life of our residents. So that's for you and Barron's.
All right, council members, we're going to stay up front. So we're about to switch to our next agenda item, and I know Michael Reinhardt's going to share a little bit about some of our youth advisory awards. So council, let's stay up because we want to honor our young people, and then we'll get an update from our community services as well. So Mikey, it's all yours.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mayor Zimmerman. Today we're here to honor 3 teens in our community for the Menifee Teen Awards, and I work as a youth coordinator for the city of Menifee, so I see all the good things that teenagers are doing in this community, and me and my team, we felt that we wanted to share that with the rest of the community so everybody knows what good work they're doing. So we created the Menifee Teen Awards, where we award 3 teens each season. So we're awarding our winter 2023 season, and our 3 categories are in academics, sports, and community service. So today we are going to recognize those winners. And I do want to say that we are very fortunate to be sponsored by the Lake Menifee Women's Club, and we have a few members here today. They're going to help us present the awards, and I'll welcome them to the front. We have our Citizen of the Month, Anne Marie Novak. We also have Gloria, Stacy, Yvette, and Rachel here. So I want to give a big shout out to Lake Menifee Women's Club for sponsoring this award. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with our first winner, and this is our All-Star Athlete Award, and that goes to Anthony Hall, an 11th grader at Paloma Valley High School. Anthony was nominated by his teacher, Miss Rose, and I'm going to read a little bit of why he was nominated from her nomination. Anthony is a teammate to anyone and everyone. He is not only a leader in the gym and the football field, but in the classroom as well. He is a shining example of a student athlete. He leads by example and commands the group not by intimidation, but just by being the kid you want on your team and in your table group. He is talented, disciplined beyond belief, and is respectful. This year, Anthony has a total of 44 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 pick six, 6 pass breakups, and he has held all his opposing receivers to under 200 yards combined. He also earned second team All-Pro in the league. So congratulations to Anthony on this accomplishment. All right, congratulations again. The next award that we would like to honor is our Inspiring Academic Award, and this goes to Elsie Sisson. Elsie is also an 11th grader at Paloma Valley High School and was nominated by her Girl Scout troop leader. So I'm going to read a little bit of why she was nominated from the nomination. Elsie currently maintains a 4.74 GPA at Paloma Valley High School. She has been a member of the National Honor Society and was asked to represent Paloma Valley High School at a summer intensive program at Stanford. She's been on Gold and Presidential Honor Roll since 6th grade. She currently takes AP classes and dual enrollment college courses at MSJC. Elsie's goal is to become a pediatrician who specializes in the genetic component of cancer. She's a determined young lady who's been pursued by Ivy League schools for the undergraduate admission. On top of excelling academically, she volunteers her time in the community and plays multiple sports at Paloma Valley High School. She treats everybody with kindness and respect, and I truly believe she deserves to be recognized for her outstanding academic accomplishments. All right, our final award tonight is the Outstanding Citizen Award, and that goes to Ellison Zundel, also an 11th grader at Paloma Valley High School. Ellison was nominated by her Girl Scout troop leader as well, and a little bit from her nomination. I nominated Ellison for Outstanding Citizen because she has exhibited and made an exemplary impact in her community in various roles. Ellie serves on the Revival Church Youth Leadership Team and is a 4th generation 13-year Girl Scout. She has worked with her troop, SWAG, the Menifee VFW post-1956, City Council, and neighboring cities to contribute to creating a homeless resource guide for the homeless community in the Valley. Additionally, she created occupational therapy adaptation tools for the senior community in the Valley and have challenges with arthritis, mobility, and enjoying everyday lifestyle activities. She contributes to a conscious effort of building community and positivity for those around her. So congratulations. Yes, and as mentioned before, all right. And all 3 winners are eligible to win Menifee Teen of the Year, so they might be back again to receive that award. So we're going to pass it over to Mariana Mitchell for the Community Services update.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. All right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Mariana Mitchell, Community Services Manager, here to provide the rest of the Community Services update. As we just awarded the Teen Awards for the winter quarter, just want to remind everybody out there that we are now accepting applications for the spring quarter through April 24th. So if you know of a teen out there that's deserving of recognition, we encourage you to apply. And then also another thank you to the Menifee Women's Club for making this possible. They help out with the prizes, and it really incentivizes this process for our teens. So thank you. Oops. So we do have a few programs that we want to highlight this month. The winter tends to be a little bit slower for us in our recreation programming, but we do have a couple things we want to make sure the public is aware of. We have our President's Week Camp, which is starting next week on Tuesday the 21st through the 24th. We do have a couple spots available, and this is in an effort to assist some of our working parents who may not be ready for that week off at the regular during the school year. So at Lazy Creek Recreation Center, we've got a fun-filled, action-packed week ready and available, and so we do have some spots available. If anybody's interested in that, please go to our city website and register, or feel free to stop by Lazy Creek Recreation Center. Youth Leaders of Menifee also have a recycled art contest that is coming up for the deadline, which is February 24th. Again, it's this recycled art is an opportunity for our teens to express themselves utilizing things that are around them. So again, the submission deadline is on February the 24th, and that is to be submitted online through the city's website as well. And speaking of art, we've got our first art affair event at the Case Nacero Senior Center coming up Friday, February 24th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in celebration of Black History Month. We have over 20 local artists that will be displaying their artwork, and a number of entertainment, some refreshments, just to kind of see what else is out there as far as the art here in Menifee, because we know art and culture is a big part of who we are. So we invite everybody to come on out to the Case Nacero Senior Center. And I just want to be able to put out there information on Save the Date. We are now officially able to promote that the Wall That Heals is coming to the city of Menifee. Thanks to the Miller Jones Mortuary who submitted the application, put us out there as far as a location, and in partnership with the VFW, we are well underway in organizing this regional draw of the 3/4 scale memorial version of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. So this is a huge ordeal. We are only one of 2 cities in Southern California that will be hosting the wall, and only one of 4 cities in all of California. So now that we've gotten the approval from the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund to kind of start marketing, putting the information out there, we're making the schedule available, and then we're also making additional information available at the City of Menifee's website, cityofmenifee.us/wall-that-heals. Because this is such a huge undertaking, we're reaching out to the community and our neighboring nonprofits and our organizations to help make this happen. This is going to be, the majority of the work is done by volunteers, through sponsorships, things like when the motorcycle escort that arrives on April 4th, the very next day we'll be working on assembling. It'll take up to 35 volunteers to help assemble this wall. So again, looking for people who are looking to get involved, who either want to volunteer their time, who want to be a part of this event, either through sponsorship or in-kind donations, to really make this the event that our Vietnam veterans deserve. So again, we are also going to be incorporating our Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans event in the opening ceremony, which is scheduled for Thursday, April 6th. And again, this is a big honor for the city of Menifee to be able to recognize and honor our veterans this way. And we're really excited to be able to host this again, thanks to Miller Jones Mortuary and VFW and everybody else who's going to come together to make this happen. So.
And Mariana, can we just ask, do we have any Vietnam veterans in the room to be recognized? We do. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
So with that, that concludes my report, unless there's any other questions.
All right, council members, any questions for community services? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mariano. Appreciate the update. We're going to go ahead and move on our agenda now. We're on item 6. This is agenda approval or modifications. Madam Clerk, do we have any modifications to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. Council members, can I get an all in favor approval of the agenda? Please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Our agenda is approved, and we're on item 7 now. This is public comments for our non-agenda items, and it's the time that members of the public can address the council about items that are not listed on our agenda. The Brown Act limits the council's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time those comments are made, and each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on a single item. Madam Clerk, did we get any correspondence emailed or sent to us on non-agendized matters?
Yes, and it's been provided in your red folder.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any requests to speak in
There are.
person? Okay, would you call the first speaker, please?
Adam Eventoff.
All right, welcome, sir.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Adam Eventoff, Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas. I am here tonight to give you an update on gas pricing and gas bills. And I normally don't like to read comments, but unfortunately I'm a little foggy, so I'm going to make sure I don't miss anything. Bills have dropped. Gas prices are dropping. And so February's bill will be significantly lower than January's bill. And a lot of reasons for that, but we are seeing demand in the western United States gas market decrease from January. So they are still higher than last year, but prices are easing. So when you get your bill in March, the first part of March, you'll see a significant drop. SoCal Gas, as you know, purchases its gas on the open commodities market, and gas prices on those markets in the West Coast as well as nationwide have been abnormally high based on abnormally low temperatures, causing significant demand for natural gas. So that's really why the prices have gone up. The cost of gas SoCal Gas doesn't make any more money from it. We charge a set rate, and so what goes in our pipes is what's varying wildly. One of the things that just happened over the course of the last few weeks, California Public Utilities Commission approved acceleration of the climate credit for SoCal Gas customers, which means that on the February bill, you'll see a credit for $50.77, so that eases the sting a little bit. And we continue to inform folks of a variety of different services and opportunities to reduce their bill. One of the ways to do it is to visit socalgas.com/assistance for a variety of programs that can help with different groups that might be income challenged. And then, in addition, SoCal Gas has also donated $1 million to a gas assistance fund to help income-qualified customers pay their natural gas bills. Again, to learn more, socalgas.com/assistance. And just as a reminder, some ways to ease the sting: remember to turn down your thermostat if health permits. Turn down your water heater a click if you can. Also, wash your clothes in cold water. Limit the use of non-essential stuff like fireplaces and jacuzzis and pools. That will also help manage the high costs. So if you have any questions, I can be reached. The city definitely knows how to get in touch with me, and by all means reach out. I'm also able to speak more at length about what's going on in the world of utilities with whatever community group might need it. Thank you for the opportunity. Any quick questions? I guess you can't.
Thank you, Mr. Eventoff. Appreciate
thank you.
Providing an update. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Jillian Larson, followed by Stephanie Ornelas.
Hi, Jillian. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and the whole of Menifee is here. There are about 400 people in the lobby. So I wanted to come for several reasons. Introduce myself to those who don't know me. I'm Jillian Larson, and I run an amazing fundraising event called Reality Rally in Temecula, and we did our 10th year this year. We raised funds for Michelle's Place and have raised over $1 million with the help of many, many people. So last year, I got to remember it's last year, we've got 7 of the cities, the area cities, that participate in the amazing race type game. And all of them help us raise money along with everybody else. And they go all over Temecula Old Town to win the Floating Gnome Trophy. Now, Lake Elsinore had won it for 6 years in a row. Temecula had it once. And Menifee ran away with it this last year. So, well done, Menifee. And thank you so much for the funds that you helped raise and the fun that you helped happen. So I am here, though, to tell you that we won't be having Reality Rally this year because my husband and I were going to celebrate our 50th anniversary in 2020. However, COVID changed that. So we are going to go away this year. Now, Reality Rally is a mammoth task. It's 3 days of crazy fun for funds for Michelle's Place, and I can't do both. I'm sort of like the conductor of an orchestra. You know, I have the baton and I have an amazing orchestra, but I don't have time for that baton, the planning, and a trip this year. So, as a result, you will have the Floating Gnome Trophy here until next year when I will come pick it up. Unless you do want to give it away, and we can just give it to one of the other cities to display, maybe on a floating whatever. We'll take it from city to city as a tempting. So you being one of 7 cities that have supported us, it has been an amazing, amazing intercity camaraderie. And you, Menifee, have been part of it for most of the years. So thank you so much for everything you've done. You've helped raise that money for Michelle's Place and awareness. If anybody's looking for services, if they've been diagnosed with any form of cancer, please reach out to michellesplace.org. And thank you again for your support. Thank you for housing the Floating Gnome Trophy for the next year. And if you do want to come away from there before next February when I'll pick it up, just give me a call. I think you know my number. You've all got my number. So thank you so much again, and I appreciate it. Any questions about the Floating Gnome or anything? No.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it, too. And congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Stephanie Ornelas.
All right. Hi, Stephanie. We did get an update earlier, but I think you're going to add to it, right?
We did get an update earlier. Mayor, City Council, and Menifee residents, my name is Stephanie Ornelas. I'm from Miller Jones Menifee Memorial Park and Mortuary. Thank you for being here this evening. I know that you received an update earlier in regards to the wall that heals, and I just want you guys to know that 10 months ago when I started this journey, and then we had breakfast together, I didn't know it was going to be so awesome. So I really want to thank Jonathan. You left me with a great team. Thank you for getting promoted. But Gabby, thank you so much. Your team has been amazing in community service. All of it, it's been awesome. You guys have been a great partner to work with. And VFW 1956 has been amazing. I do encourage everybody, now is the time we're asking to get involved. So we need volunteers to help. We have some overnight shifts for tours. We have some day tours. I apologize. Some overnight shifts for being there. For docents, we have an information booth. Please go on the city website. The link's on there. Every single logo is a link. So we also have the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 47 on there as a link as well. And we encourage everybody to get involved because I think as a community, this is an amazing event, and it's for everybody, and it's to honor Vietnam veterans. So thank you so much. We've been incredible partners with us. I really appreciate all the time and effort you guys have put into it, and we look forward to having everybody. I'm sure there'll be other updates in other meetings, but tonight, because we did go live on Monday, I just really wanted to really piggyback on what we're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate you coming. The city of Menifee would not have this great event if it weren't for Miller Jones and Stephanie and her team reaching out and bringing it to us. So thank you for doing that. It's going to be wonderful first week of April. All right, Madam Clerk, next speaker, please. Okay.
That's all the public comments.
All right, very
on
good.
that.
We're going to go ahead and move on now to council member updates and comments, and I'll start on my right, which is Councilman Dinas.
Thank you. I have one thing to report out on the 7th. Councilmember Sobek and I had the Finance Committee, and we reviewed the last item that's on the agenda today and referred it to the council for full consideration. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, very good. And Councilman Estrada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. February 2nd and 3rd, I went to the California League of Cities conference in Universal City, and Councilman Carwin was there, and it was very educational. We learned about land use planning, effective advocacy, do's and don'ts of a public meeting, talking about city revenues, very educational. And I think that was very beneficial for me. That way I can educate myself and do my homework, and that way I can be the most effective councilman for all of you. And so I'm working hard outside here of City Hall to make myself educated and to work hard for you. And I can tell you, talking to all the other city council members and mayors at this conference, they wish they were Menifee. They see, yes, they see all the potential we have, all the growth we have, and I know sometimes it's a sore subject, the homes and the traffic, but they do realize that we have so much potential and we're in a good place. I'm proud to be here.
All right, very good. And Councilmember Sobek.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to give my presentation tonight, and I have a few slides I'd like to share. Number one, I went to the You Matter collaboration. This is You Matter in Menifee. We want our residents, we want parents, we want our business owners, we want our seniors to know that you all matter. There's a website that's been created that if you are experiencing any kind of anxiety, depression, or a family member, you can go to this website and find resources. There's a couple events coming up. One of them is March 16th, and all of these are free, and they're going to be talking about healthy Menifee. And on May 25th, it's Know the Signs, and this is asking the hard questions and learning a little bit about suicide, one of the top killers in our country. Did you know that I think it's 20% of our high school students have had suicidal thoughts? And so as a council, we're bringing some resources to our residents. Take advantage of them. They're all free. I attended the Riverside Regional Conservation Authority, RCA. We had our board meeting, and we did have a conversation about Super Bloom and the policy. So just know that Walker Canyon in Lake Elsinore is closed, but if you want to see poppies, there's a beautiful place here at Diamond Valley Lake that you can go and on the walking trail and enjoy all the wildflowers and the poppies. So just to let you know that, you'll have to see them from a distance. Walker Canyon is closed. I attended the Menifee Interfaith and Community Service Council meeting, and I just want to say thank you to Debbie Mannion from Santa's Workshop. She recognized the Menifee Interfaith, the Women's Club, the Lake Menifee Women's Club. Our Citizen of the Month was there, and then Gloria Sanchez was honored for the Senior Advisory Committee for all of their contributions, hard work that they helped families and children have Christmas this year in the city of Menifee. So I just want to say thank you to Debbie Mannion and to Menifee Interfaith, who elected new officers. Outgoing is Pastor Casey Crawford, and incoming chair is Gloria Sanchez. I wanted to say some of the things that they do is they put on a free Thanksgiving meal. They do Menifee Better Together. They help the women's shelter. They just do so much. So I just want to say thank you to them. I want to give a save the date for April 22nd. I attended the meeting for Menifee Better Together 2023. And there is going to be just some amazing activities this year. We have the flower bowl planting for the little children. We're going to have the free trash day out at Quail Valley. There's going to be senior home revitalization. It's also Earth Day, so there's going to be planting of trees in our parks. And so there will be an opportunity to sign up for that on the city website. Or if you're in need of having your home revitalized and you are on a fixed income, you have that opportunity by Habitat for Humanity, and those applications are officially open March 1st. I understand some of you might get them a little bit ahead of time from somebody I was talking to tonight earlier. I also attended my quarterly RCHC meeting, Riverside County Habitat Conservation Authority, and just to let you know, this little yellow plant, I don't know if any of you have seen it around, it's called stinknet. Stinknet is an invasive species in Riverside County. It first showed up in 1981. It was identified it came here from South Africa. You can see it out at Lake Paris. You can see it sometimes along the freeway, but it is not good for our species. So don't plant it in your yard. Don't transplant it. If you see a weed, pull it out. It poses a threat to SKR, our Stevens kangaroo rat, and just want to share a little bit about that. I want to also say I did attend the the finance meeting with Councilmember Dinas, and that item 12.2 will be on the agenda tonight for software updates. But I also want to give, I found this on my desk here at City Hall, and this was a little Valentine. I want to give a shout out to Anna at the Boys and Girls Club, who I think all of us, they always send us little stuff from the Boys and Girls Club. They do a lot for our youth in the community, and it says that this year over 3,000 children will be served in our community with the Boys and Girls Club. So I just wanted to give a little shout out for them. So that's all I have.
All right, very good report. Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as Councilman Estrada said, we both attended the Cal City's new mayor and council member conference, which was always great to see the updates there and learn what's going on. They did not have the conference the year that I was elected, so I finally went back and learned what I've been doing wrong for the last 2 years. I am the representative for our city on the Western Riverside Council of Governments, WRCOG Executive Board. So I attended a meeting there, and at that meeting, we authorized the executive director to execute a TUMF reimbursement agreement with the city of Menifee for the planning, engineering, and right-of-way phases for Menifee Road from Scott to Garbani project, an amount not to exceed $2,169,000. So that's good. So what that means is we lay out the cost of the project, and they reimburse us from development funds, from developers' fees and things like that. So that's a fantastic thing. Couple of other administrative things occurred there that aren't as directly tied to Menifee. I attended the Chamber of Commerce Wake Up Menifee at Fairfield Inn. There was a presentation on employment laws, the updates there, and then one of my favorite things that I think all of us get to do, all of our favorite things is the Student of the Month presentation that happens every month, where we honor 4 students from the Paris Union High School. Seniors who are on their way to college are eligible, and this month it was from Heritage High School, Genesis Morales; from Paloma Valley High School, Ella Stenerson; from Paris Lake High School, Cheryl Ann Burke; and from Paris High School, Herman Delara. Great to hear all of their stories, and wonderful to see the youth flourishing in our school district and going on to do bigger and better things, carrying the name of the city of Menifee out into the world. So awesome, and that's all I got.
That was a great report. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is since our last meeting in beginning of February. The next day after our council meeting, I went to a 2-day workshop for RCTC. That's the Transportation Commission. It was out in Palm Springs. And we went over a lot of long-term plans and programs, and it was just an excellent 2 days. On Tuesday the 7th, I attended the Interfaith Council meeting. On Wednesday the 8th, I attended RCTC's regular commission meeting, which was in downtown Riverside. Council members, I gave you all this great big giant colored thing here. They wanted us to pass those out to all of our council members, just a kind of an update on some of the things that are related to transit and mobility. The other thing I wanted to announce is, just as Councilman Carwin just mentioned, we're getting reimbursement funds from the county. They're getting ready to do a call for projects for Measure A money, for TUMP funds, for SB 821 money. That's like safe routes to schools and things. So I'm just going to let our Public Works Director know to get ready, because they're going to be asking you for a list of those projects that we qualify for, and hopefully we can get a good share, just like we just did, was announced by the Mayor Pro Tem. All right, on Thursday the 9th, I was asked to be the speaker at our Rotary Club, and I brought our new Deputy City Manager, recently promoted John Nix, to share about his promotion, and also about the plans for the future. And thank you, John, for joining that. I think they really appreciate it. In fact, they told me to speak less and have you speak more next time. On Saturday, the 11th, I supported our Menifee girls softball. They had an opening day ceremony and just went there to share a few words of encouragement for their season and how important outdoor athletics is. And I wanted to thank our CAL FIRE guys for being there and raising the flag for those ceremonies from their ladder truck. And then yesterday we had a community partners meeting I attended, and today I attended a mayor's virtual meeting hosted by the League of Cities. And I wanted to make a quick announcement, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, February 25th. We have a great family called the Mott family, and they have a barn up there that's kind of a museum and hot rods and all that kind of thing. They're having their 10-year anniversary of that museum, and they're doing an open house. So that's Saturday, February 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I told their manager that I would make that announcement, and so I did. And that's all I have. Council members, do we have anything else to add? All right, hearing none, let's move on our agenda. We are now on item 9, and this is approval of two previous meeting minutes, January 10th and January 18th. If there's no changes to any of those, I'll ask the council members for those all in favor of approval of them. Would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hear none, so that unanimously is approved, and we're now on item 10. This is our consent calendar, and all matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item on the consent calendar. If an item is removed from the consent calendar, it'll be discussed individually and acted upon separately. Unless otherwise directed by a member of the City Council, the vote on ordinance adoptions will reflect the prior action of each council member when the ordinance was introduced. However, if a council member is not present at the City Council meeting, their vote will be reflected as absent. With that very long paragraph being read, and I look at our attorney hoping that he'll consolidate it for me someday. Madam Clerk, do we have any correspondence received on our consent calendar items?
There is none.
All right, and if there is, it'll be in our red folder. And then, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak in person on our consent calendar items?
There are none.
None. Thank you very much. Council members, if there's any items you'd like to pull, please let me know now.
I'd like to pull 10.13.
10:13. Any others, council members? If
I'd like
not,
to-
go ahead.
I'd like to pull 10.10, please.
Any others? If not, can I get a motion to approve the balance, please?
Motion to approve the balance.
Second.
Okay. We're going to do roll call of, electronic voting. Hopefully.
Are you able to cast your votes?
I don't see any on my screen, so maybe we can do a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Dinas?
Aye.
Councilmember Carwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek?
Aye.
And Councilmember Zimmerman?
Aye, and Councilman Estrada also.
Estrada?
Aye.
All right, so that passed unanimously. We'll go ahead and pull or discuss our first pulled item, which is 10.10. It's an agreement with K&A Engineering Design Service for Getz Road and Vista Way traffic signal. Did you want a report, or did you just have questions? What's your pleasure?
I just had one question.
Okay.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Director Fiddler.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Estrada, what question can I answer for you?
Yes, I noticed we are in the design phase, and I was just wondering when the bid process would begin.
Okay, sure. So as you mentioned, we're just initiating the design for this project. Part of this is to coordinate some utility relocations with Southern Cal Edison. There's several power poles that are within the alignment. As part of that, it's called a Rule 20A process, where they will relocate the poles prior to the city widening their work. They required at least a 90% design complete so they can put all their appurtenances in the right location. So as I said, this is a multi-year project, so we are having to coordinate with Southern Cal Edison on their time frames to relocate. So I would say we're probably a good 2 years from actually hitting into construction based on their schedules.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to see progress on this and infrastructure being brought to Quail Valley, and I'm sure Quail Valley residents are very excited. Thank you, Director Fiedler.
Thank you.
All right, I'm having some issues over here, but Councilman, did you want to go ahead and make a motion on that item?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. And
Second.
we have a second as well. Madam Clerk, I don't know if we're able to do.
A second.
Can we get IT up to the dais?
You aren't seeing the voting?
I'm not sure what happened there. And there was all of a sudden it went online and
We are not seeing the voting.
Okay. Councilmember Estrada?
Aye.
Council Mayor Pro Tem Carwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Solbeck?
Aye.
Mayor Bill Zimmerman?
Aye.
And Ricky Estrada? Dinus?
Oh, he gets to vote twice?
He said yes.
Vote early and often, Councilmember Estrada.
I wouldn't mind having 2 votes.
All right, sounds like everybody voted yes on that, so that passes unanimously, and we'll go ahead and go to our next pulled item, which is item 10.13, City Manager's Annual Performance Report. I believe Councilmember Sobek pulled this item. What's your pleasure?
I would like the city manager to give us a little bit of a presentation.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sobek, and Mayor and council members. You know, it brings me great pleasure to see how many people are here to listen to our yearly performance report. Thank you for being here. You are going to benefit from this report, and if you're interested in getting a copy of the PowerPoint and or the report, make sure you let the clerk up here at the table know, give them your information, and we'll make sure you get a hold of one. So, joking aside, I know you're going to benefit from this report. Mayor and council members, as you know, our city organization is very mission-centric. And I got to say that preparing this report last year was not as complicated as I thought it was going to be. And, but I want to be able to qualify what that means. It means that this last year we have a very good and dedicated group of employees and department directors that are understanding the importance of planning, vision, and goal setting. So it was easier for us to be able to accomplish so many things, and you'll see that in the report. And also, thanks to your leadership, right? Because you understand the importance of strategic planning, goal setting, and understanding that roadmap that you developed really helps us put together the plans and the policies in place so that we can advance the city and make the city, and make a better quality of life for our residents. So thank you for that, and that's the reason why we are having such fun working for Menifee. And I want to just highlight, if we can go to the next slide. Do I have a clicker here? As I said earlier, we're very mission-centric in Menifee, and this is our mission. This is from the 2018-2023 strategic plan that your city council adopted, and today you had an opportunity to redo it again. So you are going to be developing a brand new mission statement, but this year, 2022, was part of the 5-year strategic plan from the previous cycle. So as you can see, we, through teamwork and leadership, the City of Menifee provides essential services to improve the quality of life for our community. And that's everything that we've been doing for the past several years, is to make sure that we develop programs and plans to improve the quality of life for our residents. And as you can see, these are probably very familiar to you. These are our goals that are drawn from the strategic plan. Safe and attractive community, livable and economically prosperous community, responsible and transparent government, and accessible and interconnected community. So with that, I want to be able to, and I'm going to go through these, probably 10 slides for the 10 departments that participated, and I'm just going to touch on some of the highlights. But this is our executive office, and our primary goal is to be able to manage the entire city operations and the provision of public services. But most notably, I think I'm very proud to say that we were able to secure about $10 million in federal funding from our interactions with Congressman Ken Calvert for our infrastructure improvement projects. So we're very proud of that, and then we are going to continue to seek more federal funding as more federal funding becomes available, so that we can assist our CIP process and making sure that we continue to deliver more public projects for our city. We also continue to try to do a better job connecting with our community. And as you can see, our followers on social media continue to grow. Our Facebook numbers are going up to almost 20,000 followers. Our next door is almost 27,000. And we try to do almost daily, we try to send that information to our community so they can be informed and engaged with some of our programs. Most notably, our city clerk office created a passport program, and within the first month, we were able to get booked, and we assisted 18 passport applications so that we can speed up the process. And as you know, we have this thing called the Public Records Request Act, and we do have a lot of people that want to know about city business, so we try really hard to make sure that we facilitate access to information. This year, they've closed 668 active requests. And we continue to work with our partners to make sure that we bring shredding events and so that the public can dispose of sensitive documents easily and securely. Our community development department continues to be really busy. This is really eye-opening for me. They conducted 28,000 inspections, and our inspectors are working really hard to make sure that every building that gets built in Menifee is constructed safely per code. And just this last year, 5,292 building permits were issued. That's a lot of building activity. But they just don't work on that. They also work on making sure they develop policy documents, and we try to develop action plans so that we can seek federal funding. The 5-year consolidated plan is a plan that allows us to tap into HUD funding. We usually bring in about $500,000 every year that we put out into the community amongst all of these nonprofit organizations to assist them with programming. So they're continuing to be really busy on that respect. And also they're continuing to do code updates and things like that. Our community services department, I think most of you know that we now have one of the largest sports parks in Southern California. And they also work really hard to open up 3 new parks. And one of the things that I'm really proud is we upgraded Lazy Creek Park, and now we've been able to almost double the amount of activities and the number of children they get services and programs in that community center. Our economic development department has been a superstar. As you know, this is a department that works very hard to ensure that we're bringing new wealth to our community, working with businesses, working with job creation, so that we continue to increase our revenue generation, so that we can have a little more cash flow, so that we can provide more services to our community. They've completed the jobs blueprint, and they now have a very good plan of attack to make sure that we go out and seek the jobs and the revenue creation opportunities that we need to bring in more wealth to our community. And they also spearheaded the Citizens Academy. As you know, this was a very successful program. Many of the participants were very, very satisfied, and we need to do more of these things because they become ambassadors for the city. Once they understand the dynamics of a city and how a city operates, now they can better understand and help us with other residents so that they can understand that sometimes the wheels of government are, they run a lot slower, but they do run effectively. Our finance department continues to hit it out of the park all the time because they do produce a lot of award-winning documents, but one of the most important things they do is they keep us fiscally responsible and fiscally sound. Two of the most notable projects they completed this year were the creation of an update to our development impact fee, and also the creation of a citywide user fee study. And the importance of these two documents, it allows us to capture and maximize the amount of revenues that we collect so that we can use that revenue and put services back into the community. And we're very happy that we completed that this year. And then our fire department, as you know, all of you participated in the groundbreaking ceremony of our new fire station number 5 in Quail Valley. And that is going to be under construction pretty soon. And that replaces an old facility in Quail Valley we've been having a lot of problems, and we will have a state-of-the-art facility here, and we should be able to expand our services to a wider range in the community. And also, as you know, Station 7, our paramedic unit is very busy out in Sound City. So over the last couple of years, we've been working on ways to be able to expand that service delivery. And I'm very happy to say that now we have a second paramedic unit that's going to be able to allow us to provide more services out there and hopefully reduce response times over the next coming years. Our human resources department, I think I'm very proud of them because this year, look at that number, 128 new employees. This is by far the most number of employees we onboarded ever in the history of Menifee. And mostly police department, but they are all, they're going to every part of the city. And while the rest of the world was losing employees and also having a hard time hiring employees, our techniques and practices allowed us to hire over 128 employees, which is almost 1/3 of our workforce. So I'm very proud of their efforts. Our information technology, as you know, everything we do in Menifee is very technology-centric because we believe that technology will help us be more efficient. It'll help us process things faster, and it's just a more effective way of conducting city business. But at the same time, they continue to be very diligent with cyber attacks. As you can see there, we have successfully stopped 154 million attacks. I just read this morning the city in San Francisco, they got hacked. So now they're declaring a state of emergency because most of their operations are frozen. I like to think that we're doing a superb job of making sure that we prevent those attacks, and our IT department is really working very hard to make sure that we do not get attacked or successful attack. Our police department, as you know, we are in our 3rd year of implementation, and they continue to grow. As you can see, those numbers continue to go up. But one of the things that I'm happy to say that our police department is not just about going out there and ticketing people. They are spending a lot of time educating the public about driving safe, conducting a lot of driving under the influence checkpoints, and making sure that they're teaching the community about safety and safe driving. So very proud of them, and they continue to work really hard to keep our city safe. And lastly, I think our Public Works Department, they work really hard, and over the last year, they committed over $6.6 million in 6 projects. The list is there, and you were all there. We witnessed the groundbreaking of the Holland Road overpass, and they are going to be working really hard to manage that project to full implementation, and we should be expecting a full bridge over the freeway in about 18 months. And lastly, we continue to be an award-winning city. As you know, we've been top workplace for 4 years, and just last week we have announced that we are now the recipient of the 5th year for the top workplaces in our area. We were also named the best city in the Inland Empire, and just a couple of months ago we were designated a top 10 boomtown in the USA. Only 2 cities in California were on that list, and we were number 1 in California, so I'm very proud to announce that. And also we have award-winning programs. As you can see here, our economic development team took home the 2022 Excellence Award for their economic development programming. And there's other various awards that we've been the recipient of, and I think the success in that is because our employees really value the freedom and the ability to expand and invent and produce new programs that are actually innovative and are catching the attention of the rest of the state. So with that, Mayor and Council members, this is my report. And again, thank you so much for having the vision, having the understanding of the importance of planning and the importance of implementation, because it allows us to put together plans and be mission driven. So thank you so much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So I want to thank you, Armando Villa, our city manager, for that report. I think it was very important for us to hear from you as a council. It was important for our residents to be able to hear from you. You're a very humble man. You gave us a report, but you spoke about every one of your staff members in your leadership team. And I think that's why we have such a great staff. And I just want to thank you for that report. That's all that I have. And I'd like to make a motion, but I don't know if there's any other comments.
Any other comments, council members? This is a receive and file item. We have a motion
right.
to approve, and we'll need a second.
Second.
And I'm just going to say, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, let's move on. We're on item 11. This is public hearing items. 11.1, what we're going to do is continue the introduction of a first reading of an ordinance that amends Title 14. And with that, what I need is a motion and a second to continue the hearing on this item, to table the item off calendar to a date uncertain.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, and council members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. We're going to move to item 11.2. This is mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance, and I see Ms. Benal's here, so welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable city council members. I'm happy to be here tonight to present our proposed mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance. So just to provide a brief timeline of our efforts over the past year, on April 20th, staff did provide an in-depth analysis of our existing ordinance, number 760. And at that meeting, council directed staff to conduct outreach meetings as well as provide a comparative analysis of the surrounding city rent stabilization ordinances. On July 19th, we met with park owners, and on July 21st, we hosted a community meeting for residents in order to gather information and input from both parties. On October 19th, we held a workshop for City Council and provided the feedback received from both outreach meetings as well as the comparative ordinance analysis. Council provided staff with guidelines to draft a replacement ordinance, which is what we are presenting tonight. We feel the ordinance we have drafted holds the same core quality of the original ordinance, and that it will encourage fair bargaining between the park residents and owners to preserve everyone's invested interests. Oops. We do have our 4 parks here in Menifee, just under 1,200 homes, and all of our parks are 55 and older communities. A quick background of our existing ordinance. Again, it was established in Riverside County. We adopted it when we incorporated as a city It does encourage that fair bargaining between the park owners and residents to preserve the value of the park and the residents' units, but unfortunately it's not consistent with our city operations or our administrative framework. So tonight we are proposing a replacement ordinance, and these are the 6 main provisions that we will be looking at in depth. There is a small chart of each provision comparing the existing ordinance with the proposed ordinance in the upcoming slides. So applicability of the ordinance is fairly straightforward. The existing ordinance identifies the language being the areas of unincorporated Riverside County, which we are no longer. We are the city of Menifee. So that all of that language has been changed to reflect that, as well as identifying the parks within our city limits. And our ordinance will not supersede any of the provisions found in the California Civil Code. All of the exemptions to the are subject to the provisions of the California Civil Code as identified in the existing ordinance. We also identified that any increase approved by 2/3 of those affected residents in a certain park would also be exempted as well. So for instance, if a capital improvement project wanted to be conducted, this is a way that they can do that as well. Some minor technical modifications were made to this section of the municipal code, so a red line version of that is in your red folder. As in the existing ordinance, park owners will be required to submit registration of all the spaces subject to the ordinance, as well as any spaces that are exempt to the city on July 1st of every year. Once that registration is received, the city will provide the park owners an invoice of $12 per space that is subject to the ordinance, and that fee is consistent with what was currently in our existing ordinance. This fee will help offset the costs for city staff time to process that annual registration, any clerical work involved with that, as well as any items that staff need to address in reference to the ordinance throughout the year. During the workshop in October, it was council's direction to include a 5% cap to ensure some stability of space rent increases for residents, which we have done. With the permissive annual increase, park owners are authorized to automatically increase space rent on an annual basis up to 100% of the CPI or 5%, whichever is less. In the proposed municipal code section, I do want to clarify that state law requires written notice be given 90 days in advance of a rent increase. So we are recommending that language be changed to align with state law. And those red lines are also available in your red folder. The existing ordinance provided opportunities for owners and tenants to file petitions, and we have carried that opportunity forward to the proposed ordinance. Park owners can petition for additional rent increases if they feel a fair return was not received from their permissive annual increase allotment, and in turn, park residents can file a petition if they feel the terms of the ordinance have been violated. Both petitions can be filed with the city with an initial processing fee of $1 per space, subject to the ordinance of that affected park, and city staff will ensure the petition is complete and that all documentation has been submitted. Also, in the proposed municipal code section, we are recommending a modification to the language to identify that the initial petition processing fee is only applicable to those lots that are subject to the proposed ordinance, and those red lines are in your folder as well. The existing ordinance identifies that the petition reviewing body is the mobile home board. We are recommending the use of a third-party consultant, and there's a few benefits to that. It allows the city to remain a neutral party throughout the entire review process, and it utilizes the financial skill sets that city staff may lack. Some examples of the qualified companies to conduct these types of reviews would be the Office of Administrative Hearings and the American Arbitration Association. Once the review is complete, a hearing officer will provide a ruling, and that ruling will be final. It will not be allowed to be appealed to City Council. However, it can be appealed to the civil court system. And finally, to accommodate any rent increases occurring within the next 90 days and in accordance with state law, we are recommending modifying the implementation date of the ordinance to July 1st of this year, and a red line version of the ordinance section is available in your red folder as well. We are recommending a repeal of Ordinance 760, which is our current ordinance, and to consider adopting the proposed mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance and the corresponding municipal code chapter. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Banal. Council members, do we have any questions? No discussion yet until we take public comments, but do we have any questions of staff? Okay.
Ms. Banal, when we discussed this at the last hearing, one of the items that was discussed was a minimum. So under this ordinance that's proposed, it says 100% of CPI or 5%, whichever is lower. And I see that if 100% of CPI is 0, then there'd be no permissible increase for that year. Am I reading that right?
That is correct.
Other questions, council members? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. It's 7:27. Madam Clerk, was this legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
And did we receive any correspondence on this item?
There are several items in your red folder and one that came in late that I just distributed.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. And Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item? I'm assuming we do.
There are.
Now, last time we had this same group, and you were very gracious because you appointed kind of a spokesperson, captain, because so many people had the exact same thing to say. So if we're able to do that, that will make us all be able to go home a little sooner. But I'm going to just, I don't know how best to do it. Maybe you have different things to say, but maybe what we can do is, if there's somebody who you feel, maybe Bill or somebody that's probably a good first person to speak, and then if you all agree, maybe we can take it from there. So, yeah, so Mr. Seaton, if you don't mind coming up, sounds like the majority of us want to hear from you first. And what we'll do at the end of his message, we'll give you an opportunity to show hands, and we'll let the record show how many hands came up. And because we're going to try to do that, if you go over the 3 minutes, that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll try to keep it down. Everybody hear me okay? First of all, for the new council member, my name is Bill Seaton. I am the Zone D Vice President for the Golden State Manufactured Homeowners League. We are a 62-year-old statewide organization. We represent the interests of homeowners living in mobile home and manufactured home communities. As a Zone D Vice President, I have purview of all of our members and chapters in Riverside, San Diego, and Imperial counties, and I just so happen to live in a mobile home park in Menifee. So that's who I am. Esteemed Mayor, honorable council members, city staff, I want to start my comments first by thanking you all for your efforts in support of the repeal and placement of County Ordinance 760. It was my email to Councilmember Carwin just under 2 years ago that got this ball rolling, and I've been very impressed with the city's response to constituent concerns, and I want to thank you for that. My plan tonight was to come in to this meeting to wholeheartedly endorse the adoption of Chapter 5.8 as a suitable and just replacement for Ordinance 760. However, upon close inspection, there are several items of concern that prevent me from being able to fully endorse the chapter as written. A list of our concerns has been submitted for your consideration, but I want to highlight one of the most troubling provisions. The most significant concern that homeowners have with the new chapter has to do with the rent increases allowed when a home is sold and a new tenancy is established in the park. The current ordinance 760 allows the new rent for residents to be determined by averaging the 3 highest rents of comparable units in the park. In stark contrast, the new ordinance allows the park owner to establish a market rate rent for new tenants. The term market rate is not defined in the chapter's definitions, which means that it is open to interpretation. A search on Zillow this morning shows a 1,479 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for rent on Calle Celia in Menifee for $2,850 per month. There is nothing in this new ordinance that prevents a park owner from reasonably deciding that if a stick home of similar size and amenities is renting for $2,850, that $1,600 a month is not a reasonable market rate for their lot that holds a comparably sized home. This would represent an almost 90% increase in the rate new tenants are currently paying when moving into a park like Sun Meadows, which under County Ordinance 760 right now is capped to the 3 highest, or the average of the 3 highest in the park. The provision has the potential to undermine the city's stated purpose to conserve and improve existing affordable housing in the city. Furthermore, a paired study looked at the relationship between rent increases and home values in mobile home parks and found that for every $100 in increased rent, the homeowner lost approximately $10,000 in equity on their home. Allowing a park owner to use an undefined market rate calculation as the benchmark for establishing the rent on a new tenant creates the potential for monetary losses for mobile homeowners that could run into the millions of dollars in the aggregate. It is for this reason and several others that we have submitted for your consideration that we ask the council to allow us more time to work with community development on a few modifications to the new ordinance such that we, the homeowners, can truly throw our support behind it. As always, I thank you for your time and your consideration.
All right, thank you, Mr. Seaton. We appreciate your good input and perspective. I did mention those of you who agree with Mr. Seaton as an opportunity, you can show a hand. Okay, so we have, all right, let the record show that we've got about 40 people here that were in agreement with Mr. Seaton, so thank you very much. Madam Clerk, I know there have been a couple other people.
Speak on the subject, please.
I'm almost there. Madam Clerk, I know there's a couple other people that would like to speak on the subject, and we can allow them as well. So why don't you go ahead and call the first name.
Gail McCracken, followed by Melody Alberts.
Okay. Yeah. It's for people who are watching online, they can't see you, so. Yeah. Thank you, Ms. McCracken. We appreciate you coming tonight.
Thanks. Mayor and City Council, I think Bill said it all, but I have lived in Sun Meadows 21 years. And when I was here a couple months ago, I did tell you that at that time I knew 5 people that had to move because of the rent increases. And now, since then, there's even more. And everyone that lives there knows it's not going down, it's going up. And of course, everything's going up. But even with Social Security going up, some have seen a 10% CPI. I had a 9%, and mine went up $60-some. I talked to someone else, and theirs went up 70-some. So at this point, even with the Social Security, we're not able to keep up with especially the price of eggs. So I just wanted to say thank you for your consideration in this. And we were, until Bill told us about that one clause in there, everything sounded great. The 5% sounded more than fair to us. But at this point, we think possibly, like Bill said, we should maybe wait. But thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Gail. We appreciate you being here. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Melody Alberts, followed by Julie Paw.
Welcome, Ms. Albert.
Thank you.
And there's a little button there on the right side, and you can lower that and get it kind of a little more where you want to be. There you go.
There, thank you.
Awesome.
My name is Melody Alberts. I'd like to know how many others are here that reside at Hillside tonight. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to our police department here in the city of Menifee. What a great job you do. And I've used you before, and you're number one. And I want to thank our fire department and CAL FIRE as well. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. I live in Hillside. I've lived there for 5 years. And they just keep going up and up, and I think we need some kind of rent control that's better than 5%. It has to be lower than that, because they increase, but they don't fix. They increase the rent, and nothing gets fixed. We have so many weeds. We have so many problems there, and nobody does anything about it. I spoke a year and a half ago to Miss LeBron, I believe her name was Edna, here at the city, and asked her about rent control, of which she didn't have much use for me. And I'm sure she's a good employee and a good woman, but I felt dismissed. And I would like for the city to do more. 5% is too much. I'm 77 years old. I went back to work last year because I cannot afford to live on my own at 77 years old. Bad planning on my part, I take responsibility for that. But we need more, and we need better than 5%. You guys need to help us more. And I thank you for listening to me. And I appreciate your effort very much. We live in a great city. I love this city. I wouldn't live anywhere else, even if I had a structured home, of which I have a background in so many different things. But I hate where I ended up, bad decisions on my part. But we need your help, and you need to listen to us like just, 1-to-1. I didn't know about the July meeting here at the City Council. That's on me. I should have paid more attention. But please, don't settle us in for 5%. It's got to be less. Thank you for hearing me.
All right, thank you, Ms. Alberts.
And Julie Paw.
Okay, Julie, Ms. Pauley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Julie Pauley with the WMA, and I represent mobile home park owners. And with so many residents in the room, I would like to take the opportunity to assure them that park owners are not advocating to get rid of the ordinance, that it's something that we can work with. And so, but the devil's in the details, right? So, we started this process, I think, about a year ago for us, and advocating that the current county ordinance had administrative deficiencies, certainly, but the terms of the ordinance seem to work, balancing the needs of everybody, the park owners, the residents, and the taxpayers of Menifee. Because what happens when a park owner isn't earning a fair rate of return, they petition the city, and it's this very ugly process. And so the county years ago had crafted this, found the secret sauce, or this very well-balanced process or ordinance years ago, and that kept rents low. And park owners had a fair rate of return, and there wasn't a petition. They weren't petitioning the government for special rent increases. Then hyperinflation set in, and it showed some weaknesses, right? And so we're here tonight with the 5% cap. So I think all in all, we've think the changes are good, and we appreciate Molly and Cheryl listening to us about the implementation of it with the 90 days. But the problem with the cap on the increases is that there's no floor. And so what we were hoping to achieve is a 3% minimum and a 5% cap at 100% CPI. So it wouldn't be 5% every year. It would be 100% of CPI with a 3% floor. And that allows us to ride out the years that the CPI, the cost of living, the rate of inflation is above 5%, and avoid the petition process. So hopefully you'll consider that change to the ordinance. And, you know, we have to rely on private property owners to be purveyors of affordable housing. So it's a delicate balance, and I don't envy the 5 of you tonight. So thank you for your diligence in this, and the city's approach to really listening to everybody through this process is really appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Polly. We appreciate you taking your time tonight. Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers on the list?
That's it.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead now and close the public hearing. It is 7:40, and we're going to go ahead and bring it behind the rail now. And council members, this is an opportunity to discuss and share your thoughts and perspective, and hopefully guide us to an ordinance that makes sense and is fair for everybody. So, floor is open. Anybody like to start off? Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
I see Ms. Kitzrows back at the podium with Ms. Banal. Can you shed any light or comments on Mr. Seaton's questions about the sale and the market rate, that particular issue in the ordinance?
Certainly, that definitely is a policy issue. That wasn't something that came up in any of the outreach that was conducted over the course of the last year and a half. If the council chooses to include the same provisions that are in the current ordinance in the new ordinance, that's something I think the council can discuss this evening. But again, it wasn't, staff did not include it in the proposed ordinance. It just wasn't something that was part of the previous discussions.
What is the current language?
As a high-level issue. I'm sorry?
What is the current term in the ordinance? Like, if we were going to adopt the current language, what would that be?
Right. I'd have to pull the exact language, but based on Mr. Seaton's explanation, it would be a 3-month average for the base rent for a space that is sold. So their letter that's in your folder proposed something different. It proposed a 5% cap on the new space rent.
Councilmember Carwin, if you'd like, I've got the language up here. I can
Thank you, Mr. Melching.
Try and summarize it. Starting with the part that was quoted, when you have a circumstance where a mobile home is sold in place, rather than allowing the park owner to go to a market rent, you average the 3 highest rents in that park, and that is the ceiling for the rent for the mobile home that was sold in place. Does that make sense?
That's the ceiling for the new owner.
That's correct, yeah. And then there are 2 other provisions that ride along with this, so if the council's appetite is to go in this direction, I'm just trying to make sure these are out there. If the park, if the space is voluntarily vacated, abandoned, or repossessed, then it goes to full market rate. There isn't an averaging of the top 3 in that circumstance. And there's also a provision that has to do with if there's a disability on the part of a mobile home owner and they have to temporarily vacate the space and then return to the space, they get effectively grandfathered rights to come back to that space at the same rent.
In the current ordinance, is there a definition of market rate?
There is not.
So it's the general housing market is not limited to mobile home market rate?
It doesn't say one way or another.
All right, thanks for the clarification. And council members, do we have any other discussion on the item?
Well, just following up on that, I think if we can, I think that it's a valid concern to not have that, since the language already exists in the existing ordinance, just adopting that language into this with regard to those sales seems to make sense. So I would propose that if we were going to approve this ordinance tonight, that we include that language from the original ordinance regarding the average of the 3 months, just so it's consistent. It's what everybody's been living under all this time. It wouldn't be a change to the residents, and it's something that all of the park owners have been living under all of this time. So it's not putting a new burden on them. It's the current language.
I'm in agreement. If it got omitted and it's something that has value and merit, then absolutely we should try to put that back in. Which tells me we're probably going to continue this item and give staff more time to work on it, or would we just give you direction to adopt and include new language that specifies the same language that was in original ordinance 760, I think it was, right?
I think staff would be able to go back to that existing language and come back with the revisions for your second reading.
Okay, all right, good.
Mr. Melching, is that
yeah,
sufficient?
No.
Okay.
But we can get there. We can get there. If I had direction from the council to integrate the vacancy provisions from old ordinance 760, the existing ordinance, in place of section 5.80.070 of the draft ordinance that you have, which is titled initial rent. If I had that direction, then we would have enough specificity in the introduction of the ordinance that we could do a second reading.
All right.
Is there a provision to cite from the old ordinance that would make it even more specific?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. That would be section 5B, vacancies, on page 3 of ordinance 760.
And that's Riverside County ordinance?
It is, which is currently part of the Menifee Municipal Code.
So let's do this. Council members, do we all agree that we can, I mean, we have consensus that that's something we want to do? I see a yes over there.
I would concur.
Okay.
It gives some clarity as to, for both parties as to what, as opposed to market value. That's kind of a loose term, given the value of the homes and things around here. So I would concur wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and it was put there in place for a reason, and if we're omitting it, well, let's make sure that if it's something that has merit, let's keep it in there. Councilmember Sobek?
Yes, I just have a question for staff. Can you clarify if this is for mobile homes that were built before 1990, or is this for all mobile homes? So can you clarify this?
So there are a lot of complications in the mobile home laws, the California Civil Code. It is for spaces that were created prior to 1990. There are some exceptions that sunset in 2025 under new law, under new state law. But generally speaking, the spaces in the city, we don't have any new spaces created after 1990.
So it is all of our spaces in each of these 4 mobile home parks, is that correct? All of this, is this all of the spaces then in the 4 mobile home parks?
I can't confirm that because we've never done a registration. That is what the registration component would allow staff to confirm, because we would ask the park owners to provide us that information for each of the spaces in their park, and then we would have a true representation of what spaces this ordinance would apply to each of the parks.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman Estrada's in the queue.
I would agree that we should keep consistency for the owners, for the tenants. They need stability, and it also keeps stability for the property owners. We're not changing much.
Okay. So it sounds like we're in support of that modification, and it can be included before our second reading. Other discussion, council members? Are we okay with the process where it goes to petition to a hearing officer, and our community development team will assemble the information and send it to a third-party arbitrator and let them decide, and everybody's okay with the process? Okay. Any other thoughts? I think we're there. So what's everybody pointing at?
They're pointing at Bill.
So, Mr. Seaton, I can't have you shout out, and I've closed the public hearing. So, I mean, it's up, I guess we could allow you. Bill, it's important, so I'm going to go ahead and reopen the public hearing. I'm going to take your comment because I know you have some information to share. So come on back to the podium. It's 7:49. I'm going to reopen public hearing. We want to get it right, so
Yeah.
let's
And I
do
just
it.
wanted to clarify something for you. Thank you for hearing me again. So SB 940 was passed by the California legislature this year, last year, went into effect January 1st. It updates the exemption clause, and it switches it from January 1 of 1990 to a rolling 15-year period. So park owners are given a 15-year, which would take the exemption date from 1990 to 2007, which will cover, I think the oldest or the newest mobile home in Sun Meadows is 2006. So if SB 940 is taken into consideration, it would cover every mobile home in Menifee, I believe.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Seaton. We appreciate the clarification. And I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and it's now 7:59, right?
Mayor, if I may. So that is one of the revisions in your red line packet,
Okay.
is to reference all of the new updates to the state law.
Okay, so that is
So
covered then.
we have to comply with the state law. So those provisions were updated per the letter received from Bill's organization late this afternoon.
Understood, so it's in there. Thank you. All right, and Mr. Melching, did you want to share?
Yeah, Mayor, actually, it's on the same point. The staff did an amazing job of trying to integrate these revisions really on the fly, starting late this afternoon. But on this specific revision, we left in some old language and added the replacement language. We should have deleted the original language. So just for the record, and hopefully for the council's motion, in section 5.80.030B, the words spaces rented out for the first time after January 1, 1990, and then a parenthetical that says Civil Code section 798.45, those words should be stricken. And the redlined words that follow those should be the ones that are in the ordinance.
Okay,
for
very good.
introduction.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, council members, do we have any other comments or direction before we take a motion? I don't hear any, and so I will entertain that motion. The motion would be to repeal and replace Ordinance 760 as amended and introduce an ordinance amending the municipal code to include Chapter 5.80 mobile home rent park stabilization. And Madam Clerk, I believe after we get a motion, you're going to introduce the ordinance. Is that correct? All right, so first, if could we
Is
get
that,
a motion?
and just want to make sure, is that sufficient with the instruction on the vacancy substitution language?
I understood the motion to include both the vacancy substitution language and that little correction.
Excellent. And are you making that motion as
I
amended?
thought you just did.
Okay, I know I was calling for it.
Oh, well, then, yeah, I'll make that motion. Do I need to re-say all of that? Yeah. Okay.
No, all you got to say is so moved.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
And we got a second. Very good. Madam Clerk, if you would you please read the
Second
ordinance? Councilman Dinas.
Yes, it's an ordinance of the City of Menifee, California, amending Title 14 of the Menifee Municipal Code and adopting Chapter 14.02 entitled Public. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Menifee, California, repealing Riverside County Ordinance Number 760 and adding Chapter 5.80 Mobile Home Park Rent Stabilization as amended to the Menifee Municipal Code.
Very good, and I'd love to attempt a electronic vote, but if you think we can't, then we'll do a voice vote.
I've opened it.
Okay, does anyone see anything? I think we need a voice vote.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Carwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sobek,
Yes.
Councilmember Dinas,
Aye.
Councilmember Estrada,
Aye.
and Mayor Zimmerman.
Aye. Okay, so that passes unanimously, and I think we have a new ordinance, and hopefully this does it. We're going to stand by and give you guys a chance to head out if you like. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
We made some law today. fixed with the language. But if it's abandoned or foreclosed, then it's marked.
All right, if you guys don't mind, we're going to go ahead and continue with our agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Did a great job.
All right, we're going to go ahead and resume our meeting now if we can.
I don't feel about this. Nobody wants me. I appreciate you, Mayor.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. It is, we're on, our first discussion item is item 12.1. It's the annual comprehensive financial report, and it's for our fiscal year ending June 30th last year, 2022. And we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. Glad you're here. It sounds like it's quiet enough where you can.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, council members, executive staff, my fellow Menifee coworkers, and my fellow Menifee residents. I am Anne Marie Etienne. I am the finance manager tasked with overseeing the financial reporting for the city. Every fiscal year we begin with our budget process, and we have an estimate, we have a plan of how we would like our fiscal year to go. At this point, after our audits have been completed, we come back and report to you, the council, and we let you know what really transpired throughout the year. Tonight we're going to present these actuals from two perspectives. From the auditor's perspective, what is their role, and what were some of the items that they focused on and they reviewed. And then from our perspective as a city, showing some brief highlights in summary. This evening we have with us our audit supervisor from Rogers, Anderson, Malloy, and Scott LLP, Evelyn Morton Bersena. She's going to start us off with the auditor responsibilities, and then I will conclude the presentation going through some additional highlights from our final audited statements for fiscal year 2022.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ateni. And then if you'd state your name again just for all of us, Ms. Morton.
Sorry, yeah, Evelyn Morentin Barcena. I'm an audit supervisor, recently moved to audit manager for the city of Menifee's audit. So I work with Scott Mano, who is the partner, who could not be here today, so I'm here representing our firm.
All right, yeah, and there is a little button there if you want to make
I'm
an
a little
adjustment.
short, so I'm like, how do I move this down? There we go. So good evening, everybody. I wanted to first take the opportunity to thank the council for allowing us to continue to provide this service for the city of Menifee. I'd like to thank your finance staff, who has done such a fantastic job over the past few years that I've had the privilege of working with the city. They always give excellent financial information, great correspondence, always well prepared. If all my cities were as well prepared as them, I would have no problems in any of my audits. So thank you very much to the finance department and for all the other departments that work in collaboration with them to get us all the information that we need for the audit in a timely manner. It's definitely very much appreciated and very much noticed by our staff. I'd like to start just by going over a few things, primarily the audit objective, which is to express opinions on management's financial statements. We gather and evaluate sufficient appropriate audit evidence and provide reasonable assurance, not absolute. It would be impossible for us to look at all the financial data you have, so we do take materiality and risk assessment into consideration. We provide opinions as to whether the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The audit standards that we follow are generally accepted auditing standards, generally accepted government auditing standards, and the uniform guidance for the single audit, which is currently being performed. I'm just going to go over the differences and a couple of the responsibilities. So management's responsibility is for the financial statements themselves, for complete and accurate financial records, and for the comprehensive framework of internal control, including controls to prevent and detect fraud. The governing body, which is yourself, has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that management fulfills their obligations for internal control and over financial reporting itself. The auditor responsibilities, which would be ours, is to, again, attain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements. We examine items on a test basis throughout 2 points of the year. We gather evidence and supporting amounts and disclosures that are provided by management. We assess accounting principles used, estimates made, and evaluate the overall financial statement presentation. Two of the big ticket items that you may have seen this year that caused a couple of extra pages in your financial statements was related to GASB 87 implementation, which was a change of lease accounting in the current year. Very large pronouncement, which has been on the horizon for many years. So that did come into play this year, which had some changes on your financial statement disclosures and also on your records to bring all of those leases onto the books as capital items for intangible assets and lease liabilities. And so to all that end, we do all those procedures to finally express opinions on the city's financial statements. Throughout the audit process, we update our understanding annually. As we know, all governments, all entities have changes year over processes, personnel, so on and so forth. So we update our understanding and review controls over the various transaction cycles, focusing, of course, on the most significant cash disbursements, receipts, so on and so forth. We go through and we do inquiries with management, with persons involved in the different processes in the financial reporting process. We inspect documents, perform walkthroughs, observations, things of that nature. We conduct detailed audits of the financial records. We inspect all relevant documents such as bank statements, invoices, cash receipts. We like to see the source documents for all of these items. We also inquire about various unusual or transactions or events that we had seen, if any, which of course this year, unusual transactions were all of the lease-related items, which were, again, big ticket items this year. We do confirm your cash and investment balances with third parties or perform alternate procedures to observe those balances to verify that everything is correct. We also perform analytical procedures looking at significant variances, unusual transactions, comparing items to the budgeted amounts to make sure that there's nothing out of line with what the expectation was from the city as a whole. We also use data analytics on the cash disbursements, various analysis and tests that we do over your actual check register that checks for gaps in check sequence, any duplicate checks that were made, vendors that were paid, over a certain amount. So we do look at all of those items in detail above what we do for the audit. So we do this to supplement our audit procedures, not supplant any procedures that would have been done before this tool came into play. And of course, we read the minutes of the board meetings to ensure that all significant events that transpired were properly reflected on the financial statements. Our final opinion over the financial statements is unmodified, which is our highest level of assurance. It essentially means a clean audit, if I can call it that, which means that we were not aware of anything that caused the financial statements to be materially misrepresented, either in form or appearance. The financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. significant accounting policies have been consistently applied, estimates that have been made by management appear to be reasonable, and the disclosures are properly reflected not only with generally accepted standards, but also with the GFOA disclosure requirements, which the city has gone through and applied those different disclosures to give additional transparency to the city's financial statements, and applied again for the award, which we noticed earlier that they did receive that award in fiscal year 2021. Other required reporting that we also did was the GAS report, which is the report over internal controls over the city. The SAS 114 communication letter to governance to give some key highlights about points of the audit. The uniform guidance report has not been finalized yet, but should be finalizing very, very soon. That's the audit over your material financial or federal award, excuse me. And also the GAN limit appropriations, making sure that the city's revenue collection that applies to the GAN limit was not exceeded, and the report on material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, which there were none in the current year. And then I'll pause for any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Marcena. Do we have any questions, council members? I did have one on GAN limit. Are we getting close? Sometimes I know that cities.
Some cities have been getting very close over the years, and everyone edges a little bit towards the line every year. The city has had a lot of growth in the previous years, but the indicators that are being used to go through and calculate the GAN limit annually feel like you still got a little bit of wiggle room. So it'll be a couple of years before you get really close to that threshold and have to perhaps determine using a different factor, perhaps the new development factor instead of the CPI adjustment.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Glad to hear that. Any other questions, council members? I think we're okay there. Do we have more report? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So within our financial statements, we have three major sections. The introductory section, the financial section, and the statistical section. Within the introductory section, we have an overview of the organizational structure, leadership, and our current economic conditions. Within the financial section, we have our basic financial statements, notes to the financials, management discussion and analysis, and a report from our independent auditors. The statistical section focuses on actual figures and trends of our finances within the city, looking at our revenue, debt capacity, who are our top employers, top property taxpayers, and the like. Currently, we have 148 funds, 2 general funds, so our actual Fund 100 and Quality of Life, our 3 internal service funds, Information Technology, Fleet, and Facilities, our special revenue funds, which encompass our DIF funds and our special districts, as well as our grant funds, 2 capital project funds, 2 fiduciary funds, 1 debt service fund, and 3 custodial funds. Within those custodial funds, we actually have our bonded CFDs. Our total government fund revenues were just over $123 million. Top revenues came from taxes at 45.42%, and licenses and permits at intergovernmental actually was our second highest at 18.77%. When we compare fiscal 2022 against 2021, we had a total $23 million increase of revenues. Some of our increases were in taxes. We had increased development. We had some higher property taxes and sales tax. Within licenses and permits, we had increased development that caused those to increase as well. Within intergovernmental, we're looking at the revenues that we get from other agencies, the state, Riverside County, so this is Measure A, SB1, gas tax. Because of the increase in Menifee's population, our allocations actually increased on those revenues, so that explains that increase. On charges for service, we had some higher plan check fees and some special assessments come in from our bonded CFDs. Fines and forfeitures, we had higher code enforcement and traffic citations. Within developer participation, that is our development impact fees, our DIF fees, those came in higher. And contribution for property owners, this was our first year actually having activity in there, and that is primarily the funds coming in from our bonded CFDs of McCall, Mesa, and Meadow Run. Not everything was positive. We did have some that went down. Within miscellaneous revenue, for example, we had a one-time credit from Southern California Edison in fiscal 2021. That was due to our retrofit of our streetlights. So that was one-time revenue, so that explains in 2022 why it went down to truly reflect. And then within use of money and property, that is actually our investments and interest. So like Evelyn talked about GASB 87, there's also another required accounting entry called GASB 31. At June 30th, we are required to show the true fair market value of our investments. And at that time, if any of you remembered, our 401s, our 457s did not look good right around June of last year. So all of us basically did take an unrealized loss on our investments. We actually surveyed some of our neighboring cities, and we noticed the city of Temecula posted a $4.9 million loss at that point on their ACFR, and Moreno Valley had a $7.1 million unrealized loss. It was just the market at that time, and it is a requirement that we do show the fair market value at that time. However, 6 months into fiscal 2023, we are definitely doing much better, and we have posted gains on top of our investments already. For our total governmental expenditures, those came in just over 97 million. Our highest was public safety at 35.73%. And then we had general government at 19.10. Our expenditures increased between fiscal 2022 and 2021 just over $20 million. Some of our biggest increases can be seen within general government and public safety. Those two areas we had increased staffing in our police department and also in our fire contract that did increase by $1.8 million. And in relation to that GASB 87 lease adjustment Evelyn mentioned, we also had to do that adjustment with our leases, and that also is reflected in that increase in expenditures. Within community development, we had some increase in the professional services and increased staffing as well. Community services started to have a lot more events post-COVID and hiring of new part-timers. That explains their increases. Engineering and public works, we had some decreases in professional services, their recoverable professional services, and their on-calls. And within capital outlays, we actually made our Holland Road right-of-way purchase of $1.7 million. We also had the CIP projects of the Lazy Creek campus. For debt service, this is primarily us refinancing our streetlight debt. So the payoff of our original principal amount and some minor debt issuance costs explain the increase between fiscal 2022 and 2021. Overall, our total governmental fund balances increased by just over $38 million. Specifically to general fund, and for classification purposes for our financial statements, general fund also includes quality of life, our internal service funds, and the trust fund. We came in just over $80 million on our revenues there, and primarily taxes at 69.53 were the top ones. Between fiscal 22 to 2021, general fund revenues increased by just over $7.8 million. Expenditures were just over 70 million, and the biggest cost was public safety at 49%, and general government was number 2 at 25%. Comparing fiscal 2021 to 2022, expenditures increased just over $14 million. Overall, comparing our adjusted budget against actuals, fiscal 2022 did show an increase in fund balance of about $20 million. Our revenues came in about 1.5 million higher than budgeted, and our expenditures were about 39 million lower than budgeted. Some of the reasons for that is we had a couple unfilled authorized positions, and a lot of our capital projects and our CEQA projects actually got rolled into this current fiscal year. Overall, our capital assets increased by $23 million. Developer contributed infrastructure of about 21.7 million, and then we had about 8.5 million in completed capital projects, which also included street improvements. So these are the actual numbers of capital assets. Well, what does that look as a visualization? Our capital assets are typically our improvements and new construction. Some of our improvements we had this past fiscal year was the Adams Street improvements, our maintenance occupation center, Lazy Creek campus improvements. This was a very great improvement, and we actually doubled the size of the Lazy Creek campus with this improvement. And then we had the Rancho La Vida resurfacing project. This past year, we also received the Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This was the 9th year that the Finance Department received this award. And on that note, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our auditors for the consistent support and guidance they have always given us in processing our financials. And of course, our amazing ACFR team, led by our Deputy Finance Director, Margarita Cornejo. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to do this, so I work with a great team. And on that note, do we have any questions?
All right, thank you, Anne Marie. Council members, do we have any questions at this time? Hearing no questions, Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence on this item?
There is none.
Any requests to speak?
There are none.
All right, council members, we can open up for any discussion, praise. I think Councilmember Sobek has some praise.
Yeah, you know, my husband watches this sometimes from home. He goes, "The mayor always looks at you." So
Because you like
he
to
says
give praise.
I talk too
That's
much,
good.
but I do. You know what? I do appreciate the financial report. You know, one of our main jobs, very important job as a city council member, is to watch the city coffers. And so having this and having such great employees in that department, you did a great presentation. Thank you. It was clear, it was understandable, and I just want to thank you and your team. So kudos to you guys.
Yes, well done. Any other comments, council members? Go ahead, Councilman.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the staff in the finance department. I've been watching over the years, and year after year, award after award, so keep it up.
Yeah, 9 years of the GFOA, right? So next year we're going for 10? All right. Well, council members, I need a motion and a second to receive and file our ACFR for year ending June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, very good. Madam Clerk, do you want to call roll, or can we do an all in favor? Okay, all in favor, council members, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we have one more discussion item ahead of us, and it's 12.2, and thank you, team, for the great presentation, by the way. This item is 12.2. It is awarding the ERP, which stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, to financial management software. It's a solution, it's a contract, I'm sorry, and I'm going to ask our city manager to share a couple words and then introduce the staff that's going to shepherd this one.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I think this is a project that we've been working on for probably 2 years to ensure that we acquire the right program to allow us to streamline most of our functions inside City Hall. We need a system that can take us over the next 10 years, and I think Margarita and Ron have done a really good job of making sure that this recommendation is solid, and that we are choosing a software provider that's going to stick around for a while, because managing our financials, it takes a lot of time. And then one of the things we wanted to do is wanted to make sure that we take the opportunity to retool and rework our processes internally. And this software system is robust enough to be able to take plenty of the functions we have here at City Hall. But I'm going to let Margarita and Ron do the presentation so you can see the kind of program we're looking for. Thank you.
Hi, yes, good afternoon, Mayor, council members, members of the public, staff members. This is the last item, and like the city manager has mentioned, this isn't quite like Haley's Comet that comes around once, I think, every 70 years, but if done right, it is a very infrequent item that comes before an organization, because it requires a lot of effort and it requires a lot of strategy, and once you get through it and you set up the right system, it really should set the organization to be able to operate efficiently and make sure that the financial management and record keeping of the organization is well maintained. So it is our pleasure. I am Margarita Cornejo, and our Chief Information Officer, Ron Pusinelli, will be providing an overview of the ERP and what's being proposed tonight on behalf of the various departments that were involved in this process, our HR, our IT, our Public Works. We really to get to where we are tonight, worked internally quite some time to come in a figure and put in words exactly what it was that we needed when it came to replacing the existing system that we have. So tonight there are 5 recommended actions included in your staff report, and each is necessary to launch this project that we are embarking on. But this all relates to the award of an enterprise resource planning ERP system. Because of the size and the investment of this project, it is technically, in the first recommended action included in your staff report, is to formally include this as a CIP project. And I know the public and generally we're used to talking about CIP as roads and facilities and whatnot, but this is infrastructure as well. This is technology infrastructure. So taking that away and removing it, it's not a physical road in itself. An ERP course in itself is a CIP in itself by the definition of our policy, where anything that's over $50,000 and has a useful life of 5 technically qualifies as a CIP for us. So before we go through the project and we establish an overall project goal of where we want it to be at the end of this 24-month process. And in a lengthy, kind of wordy way, we've articulated that at the end of this, we don't want to end up exactly with the system that we have in place. Instead, we would like to successfully replace the existing system with a comprehensive ERP system that is designed around best practices. It consolidates and streamlines existing functions, and it integrates with other key technology systems, thereby allowing the city to streamline and improve processes that result in timely, accurate, and easy to access information. When we were going through this and discussing it internally, actually our senior accountant, Melissa Cortez, made me smile about this, because in a shorter phrase, what we're saying here is that witty kind of branding that the city has come really to embrace. New, better, best. That's what we aim to get at the end of this project. We want a new system that better addresses our needs and really best will give us the best operations now and in the future. This addresses and connects directly with the strategic plan of being a responsive and transparent community government. So tonight we'll give you a project overview of what we currently have in place, what the benefits of an ERP system are, what the selection process of this ERP system that we're recommending are, and what the project timeline and implementation will look like. I will hand over the existing current financial management system outline and ERP system benefits to Ron, so he can give you guys from a kind of technology and assessment of the systems that we have in place and where we could be kind of standpoint. Ron?
Thank you, Margarita. Good evening, Mayor, distinguished council members, and members of the viewing public. So imagine we're right now flying a little, Piper Cub airplane. It works great when you first get your pilot's license, but our needs are a little bit bigger. We can still do things, but it takes us 100 trips. So with getting a different tool, a different vehicle to make that same kind of work effort, we can now do things in 1 or 2 trips. And that's generally what we're trying to accomplish here with a new ERP system. Our current system is fairly old. It is, as noted here on the slide, will no longer be supported after 2027. So why are we coming to you now? This is a 2-year project. If we wait too much longer, we're going to not fit within that window, and then we will be in a challenging situation where we won't even be able to do things like update our tax tables and successfully pass our audits. We do not want to be in that situation. The other thing that we're addressing here is our current system, while it is good and has gotten us this far, doesn't really integrate with all of our other systems that manage the revenue and the finances of the city. For example, our building permitting system takes money from developers, from permits and things like that. In order for that information to get into the current financial system, someone has to physically sit down at a keyboard and type that information in. It works, but through no fault of the person doing it, it becomes prone to error. Maybe we've got a decimal in the wrong place, that kind of thing. By having a system that is now able to be fully integrated, when those numbers, that revenue is brought into the building permit system, it will flow into the financial system. So we have that one set of books, that single source of financial truth that most accountants that I'm familiar with prefer to have one set of books than 3 or 4. So this system will do all of that. It will also fix some holes in capabilities we currently do not have, and we're having to do things like run spreadsheets, a lot of manual processes. One that immediately comes to mind is when an employee wants to take time off, they have to sit down, fill out a sheet of paper, they have to get their supervisor's signature. It's a little bit of a time-consuming process. So this new system will let us automate all of that, do it electronically, again, reducing friction, reducing steps in the process, streamlining it, creating better audit trail, for lack of a better word, as well as speeding up the process and allowing our existing staff to be more effective and more efficient at supporting our internal employees. I'm not going to try and explain every single function of the system. We'd be here for 3 weeks, and I don't think any of us want that at this point in time. So with that, I believe I will turn this back over to my colleague, Margarita, and she will take the next section.
And one of the main things that we are also transitioning from I guess, a technology and cybersecurity, not just data storage element, is the current system that we have is premise-based. So the downside of that is if there is some delay or slowdown with our network, then the accessibility to the system basically stops. We are proposing to move to a cloud-based solution, which makes us more resilient in things like when there's a physical literally emergency or thing, that we would be still able to access the system. Same thing with data storage. Because we have a premise-based solution, it requires that we hold all the data here. And as finance people, we love the more we can keep, the better. But it becomes very expensive and difficult to manage when it's in a premise-based solution. With a cloud-based solution, we get the best of all worlds because the provider is the one that's responsible for the data storage. Now, understanding the sensitivity of that information and making sure that because it is in a cloud, that there's extra security elements in there. There are very specific audit requirements that the provider is required to provide for us on a regular basis. And actually, during the contract negotiation process, that was one of the key points that the internal staff really zoned in and negotiated with the vendor to ensure that we felt comfortable enough to be moving forward from premise-based to cloud-based. Touching a little on the selection of the new ERP in here, in this illustration, you can see it's essentially been a 12-month process to get to here. And this is just actually starting from the release of the RFP. Prior to the release of the RFP in February of 2022, there was a lot of internal preparation that went into that. The development of the scope of work of what would go into it. And at the conclusion, before we put that out in February, we came out with a lengthy narrative of what the city was looking, but even to that, a further attachment that was about 35 pages that went module by module of system requirements, be it payroll, AP, purchasing, all the different elements we were thinking that we wanted the system to definitely have, highly desired, but really articulating exactly what we wanted so we would be in control to ensure that when we put this RFP out, we would get the best solution options. Following the issuance of the RFP, there was an extensive evaluation process, which constituted the proposal evaluations, finalist demonstrations, and finalist interviews. The selection committee for this particular RFP was larger than most, and that was deliberate. We wanted to get as many input from users, not just finance, although finance tends to be the heavy user of a system like this. We wanted to make sure that we were going to meet the needs of departments that are regularly involved in an ERP or a financial system like our HR, but beyond that, we have our departments that all in one way or another are needing to look at regular reports. We wanted it to make it easier. Eden in itself, and we'll go through some visuals of how it looks, isn't the friendliest for somebody who's not regularly involved in looking at it. We were looking for a solution that, yes, financial people could understand and navigate through, but also other end users. So that brought in kind of the demonstration element so we could literally get a visual and a glimpse of what that system would look like. And then we concluded it with our finalist interviews in June of 2022. Following that, our contract negotiations started in August and concluded until recently. And that in itself is a lengthy process. But again, this is something that we have taken serious from the beginning to make sure that we get it and we get it right from the beginning, because it is a lengthy process. It's going to take a lot of effort, and it is a considerable amount of money that's being invested in it, and we wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, the city ended with a contract in the terms that we felt were going to meet our needs. And so Today, we are presenting for council's consideration the award of an SAS, or Software as a Service agreement, with Tyler Technologies for the Munis solution. If it is approved tonight, then the direction would be to move forward with an ERP project kickoff in April 2023. As our CIO mentioned, Eden in itself as a system is being sunset in 2027, so there are a number of agencies that are in the same kind of boat that we are and are looking to migrate. Some will be going with Munis and some will be going with other ERP solutions. Because of that impact of a lot of agencies going through that, not just because of Eden, but just because a lot of entities may have been where they had a system that had been set up in 1997, but or in that general time frame, and technology advances at lightning speed. They are going through the same exercise of an ERP system. So the big providers like Tyler, basically what they are doing is cohorts of groups that are transitioning. And so for us, if this is awarded tonight, we would be on the April 2023 cohort. Moving in summary to what is in the staff report, this is the breakdown of what the Tyler proposal looks like. And it's broken down into 10 years to give you a full snapshot of what that looks like. Now, to maintain flexibility for the city and ensure that if for whatever reason we find ourselves in a situation where it's not working, the city has retained and the ability and set this contract to be a 12-month agreement. And one of the recommended actions is to authorize the city manager to execute annual amendments if we move forward. But it also gives us the flexibility that if for whatever reason it should not work out, we're not locked into a 10-year agreement. But we also wanted to be able to have some element of the price control, so we negotiated with Tyler to have fixed pricing for the first 3 years, and then from years 4 to 10 to have an annual adjustment, but not to exceed 5%. So the table that you're seeing here reflects the ongoing software agreement cost of what it would be, factoring if it was up to the 5%, as well as the one-time implementation costs. In the orange box, it's just summarizing for reference. There were a total of 5 proposals that were received. The evaluation committee had representatives from finance, HR, IT, public works, and PD to cover that, and they went from everything from the proposal to the demonstrations and the interview. Munis was unanimously recommended as the ERP solution by all evaluators. Here are, because sometimes pictures speak louder than words, a visual illustration of what we're looking at when it comes from Eden versus Munis. As you can see, standard reporting from Eden does provide you numbers in itself, but for anybody who's looking at it and wants to look at things like trends, you wouldn't pick those up from looking at the Eden report. It requires you exporting, manipulating, putting it together, whereas Munis is structured to give quick executive insight summaries like this. This is the current Eden system when it comes to kind of the menu driven and how it looks. This is more of the interface of what you would be seeing with Munis, a quick dashboard for all end users to quickly see quick important things that they would want to look at. Other benefits of Munis versus Eden are things like an open finance. Currently we have OpenGov, but by having Munis, it would be consolidated together, and it brings together that transparency portal and transparency that the council has really zoned in and included in their strategic plan in the current one and the one that we're moving forward. So the system would continue to retain that ability and be already part of the existing system. It would also improve to what we touched about, the resiliency and operations during things like natural disasters. It would reduce on-site data storage requirements, provide enhanced data security, provide more robust reporting modules, and improve remote accessibility. With respect to the project timeline and what that would look like, we're looking at about a 24-month implementation schedule. At the top table is the big components from Tyler's proposal on what's going to come first and in what order, starting with financials, which is the larger component of it, human capital management, and execute time advanced scheduling. And the bottom is just some reference of what it will take from kickoff all the way to the finality of April 2025, including things like business process assessment, data migration, new system setup, system testing, and end user training. So we gave an idea of what the timeline looks and then who is going to be involved. In some capacity or another, all staff will be impacted during the implementation process, and definitely if once it's gone in place. But based on kind of what are the roles, who's going to do what. From the Tyler side, there is a dedicated team, everything from an executive sponsor, implementation manager, project manager, technical services, and data expert that will be working from their end on making sure that the system is set up and configuring with us. From the Menifee team, our list is longer because, again, Tyler is focused on making sure their system's up in hours, but we know our operations more. We know more specifically kind of how we want to structure our business processes that are in place. So we have mirror positions from our end, but then some additional ones, those technical leads, the functional leads, the power users, if you will. So to that end, any agency that has gone through an implementation process like this for an ERP knows that the challenge in doing something like this is that while you are trying to implement, you also have to maintain simultaneous operations. You have to continue. We still have to process payroll. We still have to cut checks. We still have to process contracts. In any successful implementation of an ERP, there's an inevitable necessity to supplement the operations of the implementation as well as regular operations with additional support. So part of the recommended actions for tonight are specifically to provide that support that will be needed specifically in the areas of IT and finance to ensure that we have no disruption in service as we implement the project and that we are able to do it efficiently and successfully. Specifically with IT, Ron will provide some specific details on what that particular consultant's going to do, as they will serve a lot in the project manager capacity. And I will hand it over to him.
Thank you, Margarita. This is a fairly busy slide, and the intent is not to have you read every single word, but to more effectively describe what I need, that my team needs the support for, because we are very fully occupied right now just keeping things running, as is finance, as is HR. One of the primary opportunities we have here is to reimagine, revisit our internal business processes and find places where we can remove steps, streamline processes, things like that, over and above just automating. To use a euphemism, we don't want to just pave the cow path, we want to engineer the highway. So that is one of the main things that this consultant by the name of Third Stage will be helping us with. The other thing, and Margarita alluded to this already, is this will touch every single employee somehow, some way. Even if all you do is get a paycheck out of the system, that's fairly important to most employees. So we're talking about changing the way we manage our money, we obtain and manage our assets, we manage our people through the HR side of this process. So the organizational change management, which really is not a technology thing, but is very critical to the success of a major undertaking like this. And there are, look in any newspaper, you'll find any, name your company, they've all had failed ERP implementations that cost them millions of dollars and take tens of years. We don't want to go through that process. Third Stage themselves has done this particular kind of process, ERP implementations, last time I checked, 1,000 times. We're going to do it once, maybe twice. We need the help of someone who's been there, done that, knows where the landmines are, and can help us avoid those. That's why we're respectfully requesting the authorization to engage them to help us with this, to help represent us to Tyler, to represent our interests. They can bring all of their industry expertise and knowledge to bear on that process. And again, the slide here is not intended to read every single word, but these are the things they will be working on. The business process management, the organizational change management, helping us take more advantage of the digital applications, streamlining our processes. And as Margarita mentioned briefly already, the improvement in security here, and I don't want to get into the weeds of all of this, but if you imagine we're using a lock that was put together and built in the 1850s back in the gold rush. Worked great then, still works, but relatively easy for someone who knows what they're doing to defeat that lock. We're wanting to and requesting your authorization to update that so that we get a system that is much more aware and architected to defend against today's environment as opposed to one from 1997. And again, that is part of what Third Stage will be helping us with. I believe that wraps up my piece of this, and I'll turn it back to Margarita.
Yes, and understanding that at the end of the day, this involves taxpayers' monies. Even when it came to the recommendation for third stage consulting, staff did do the due diligence of soliciting proposals from other firms that are specialized in doing this and trying to find the best price and the best service that we could. So to provide that background. And then to conclude, before we get into the recommended actions, is why Tyler? We've given some visuals. Who else has done it? Are there any nearby agencies that specifically do that? And so what we have in this slide are specifically other California Munis clients. For Tyler, as you can see, the list is pretty lengthy. Tyler is particularly specialized in providing local governments, that's school districts, other public entities, water districts, cities, this particular type of ERP solution. And then more specifically to our local area, our neighbors to the south, Temecula is literally going through the final, I think, second half of their 24-month implementation, and we have some nearby cities of similar population that are currently using the system as well. So tonight, there again are 5 recommended actions, and if you bear with me, I will try to read them as quickly as I can for council's consideration. The first is the formal incorporation of the ERP project implementation as CIP 2314 within the current fiscal year 22-23 CIP program. The second is to award and authorize the city manager to execute a software as a service agreement with Tyler Technologies for a comprehensive enterprise resource planning ERP financial management software solution for 22-23 in the amount not to exceed $947,867 from DIV citywide account 524-4220-53155. It is important to note that this particular budget actually for the agreement itself is already included in the current budget. It was actually part of the 21-22 budget and carried forward into this fiscal year. The third one is to authorize the city manager to execute 9 optional one-year amendments for 23-24 through 2031 through 2032. The fourth is to approve award of a professional services agreement with Third Stage Consulting for as-needed project management support services related to the ERP implementation project in an amount not to exceed $550,000, and that's for the longevity of the project in its entirety. And the last one is to adopt a budget amendment resolution appropriating $91,667 to the IT fund, that's Fund 110, to that specific account designated above, and that's to cover specifically the professional services for the balance of this year. So this concludes our presentation. We thank you for your time and consideration, and we are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Cornejo. Do you mind going back in the slide or having the media folks take it back one more? That one. Thank you. Whoops. Yes, thank you. So I see item 4, and it's talking about us. One of our 5 things we're going to do is approve the $550,000 that's for IT support. And I know earlier you talked about needing $275,000 for finance support as well, but is that going to come later?
Yes, no additional budget is needed for that. We have salary savings to cover that, and that would be separate. We are defining the support for that one, and it may come in the form of annuitant support. So we have the budget capacity for that, so we don't need additional appropriations, and it's not a professional services agreement.
All right, great. Thank you. That answers that question. And just to be clear, this $550,000 on item 4 is for 2 years of service, right?
That is correct, and we are asking for the $91,000 just for this year because the remainder would be budgeted in the corresponding fiscal years.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate you clarifying that. Other questions, council members?
Quick question. Does Tyler Technologies, do they maintain their own servers, or do they lease out servers for their cloud-based operations?
So Tyler maintains 2 data centers of primary and a backup located in the central United States and the eastern coast of the United States. It is all their equipment. They maintain it, they support it, they keep it up to date. Part of the negotiations we actually had to push a little bit is that we will have the ability to do an annual test to make sure that we fail over and continue operating, but it is all their equipment.
Right, so they have the redundancy and the security and everything in place.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One other question, on I think it was slide 9, you talked about a transparency portal.
Yes.
Can I share a little bit of what that means?
I will try, and then I'll let Margarita. So imagine our OpenGov portal right now has the information available to the public, the general numbers, budget, who spends it, how it spends it. This will replace that. It's getting back to that one integrated kind of a system. So right now, the finance team has to take the information out of Eden, put it into OpenGov, make sure it's accurate and balances and checks, and then make it available to the public. By having it come directly out of the Munis system, the real authoritative source of the data, whatever is reflected in the Munis system is what gets reflected out without any human intervention, any chance for human error, just gets reflected out to the public.
So will the public then be able to get online and say, look at a budget and say, how much does the city spend on a certain line item? Just out of curiosity.
Exactly. It would be like, in this one, they've given there's like a little picture of City of Tyler, but that's the exact intent. That if a resident wanted to go on and see how much is going on CIP and how much in a more live way, as opposed to the adopted budget, which is that snapshot when it's being approved, that it would maintain that active live action of transactions, and they would be able to access and make ourselves more transparent in our activities on a regular basis.
Well, good, because that means we're already working on our new vision statement and everything already by being transparent, so not bad.
I got a question from Councilmember Sobek.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Councilmember Dynas and I got to hear this in a finance committee meeting. And so this is the second time that we've got to hear it. And a question that I have is, this is such a robust project, 24 months. And you're going to have extra employees as well to help with this process because you have to do your day-to-day operations. So how will you, over the next 24 months, handle your personal time off as a team to keep this rolling? Has that been discussed at all, how you will handle that?
I'll help with this one. We have actually talked about it in detail, and the need for temporary staff will likely be the case, which is why we've talked about that additional support to the finance team, as well as the IT team, as we have some specialized positions that need to be focused on the requirements of the system and the transition. We would be able to hire hire temporary staff that could do some of the basic accounting functions that wouldn't necessarily need that detailed information, but that would also support staff being able to take time off and planning around that. We will have heavier times, heavier workloads throughout the process. The beginning will be a lot of system requirement defining, so it'll be a smaller team. As we get closer to implementation, we'll grab more staff members across the board in every department to start the user testing and so forth. So it'll be a phased approach, and we will be planning that out along with our regular workloads so that we can balance that and make sure that we are able to have our regular vacations and so forth, because we don't need any burnout. One of the things that we are going to be introducing shortly is the potential to go to a 2-year budget. We are planning for a 2-year budget so that the heavy lifting that we're doing right now for budget planning, we won't have to do next year. And we'll explain that all coming up in the next meeting. We will have our mid-cycle budget adjustment presentation, and we're going to include a lot more information at that time. But that'll help alleviate this heavy 3-month period of time where we do the heavy lifting for the budget planning. The entry would already be there, and we will be heavily into this conversion process at that time. So that would take away from the staff time that goes into the budget process for all departments. Every director, manager, staff, a lot of the management analysts all put a lot of work into the budget each year. If we were to go forward with this 2-year budget, it would allow staff to not have that heavy load next year while we're in full implementation process for this ERP system.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, so we're going to do it as a team, because if we try to put it on one person, that's a lot. But the strength is in the fact that we have hardworking staff, and we all know that if we all need to put our contribution to it, and it'll come out successful if everybody kind of carries their weight on it. And so our approach is very team focused on doing it, and that's across all departments, because again, we're going to need the support of the various departments and end users to do it. So,
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. So after this is implemented or finished, will there be a training period for all the employees? And in that training period, is that included in any of the costs, or will that come later?
Yes, so both are yes. So in the slide that we had where we showed kind of the implementation phase, let me go back. No, too far. You'll note that Tyler shows 21 months, and we listed 24 months, and that 3-month kind of buffer is specifically to do that training, that testing, and as part of the services in that implementation with Tyler is that they specifically provide us that support and that training in that way. That's factored in.
If I could just add one more to that. We are intentionally doing this as both pre-go live training so that people know how to use the system to start with, but as anyone who's ever tried to do a new system, you don't even know the questions to ask until you've used it for a little while. That's why we're adding that 3-month buffer at the end, specifically bringing the professional trainers, Tyler folks, back to help us understand, now that we've got some experience with the system, what do we really need to, what are the questions we need to ask, what is the help we need to get to make sure staff fully knows how to use the system.
All right, thank you so much for that.
Any other questions, council members? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, any correspondence on this one received?
There is none.
Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
There are none.
Council members, do we have any more discussion or comments? Encouragement and well-wishing that everything goes successful?
Well, having gone through this, it is a monumental task. We don't have much of a choice, though. Once that'll, it's like have that PC from 1974 sitting there. If I can't figure out how come it's not working anymore, and no one's supporting it. But for me personally, some of the things that was important to me when we reviewed it as a finance committee, that first, they're not customizing the software. They are changing the way the city does business to match the software, which is important because I've seen it where they've tried to customize the software, and it just doesn't work. So I appreciate that. The consultants, having those on board, that would have been a killer for me if they didn't have that, because if you're at a 20, 30-year career, you're lucky to go through this once, not on a regular basis like a consultant would. And then going as a service as a software, that's where the industry's going now, and it'll eliminate some of the need to have all these computers sitting and servers sitting around in our little server room back there. So hoping we realize a few savings that way.
Can you make a motion?
Now I'll move approval of all those things that were said.
I'll second.
So it sounds like we have a motion from Councilman Dinas and a second from Councilmember Sobek. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. That's approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, were you okay with the motion and the second? Dinas, and then seconded by Sobek, okay? And a unanimous yes. All right, we're on item 13. Mr. City Manager, or City Attorney, I'm sorry, do you have any reports?
I do not, thank you.
All right, and then 14, Mr. City Manager, do you have any updates for us?
Yes, Mayor, I was wrong. The people that were here were not here to listen to my report. They were here for another item, so sorry about that.
You realize that. Okay, good. All right, anything else? All right, council members, item 15, any future agenda requests?
I have a request,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Quail Valley residents pay an extra property tax, and it's documented in CSA 86. And maybe we can have the conversation at one of the budget workshops, just to bring more transparency to the document, add what the fund balance is, the running expenditures in it, future revenues. And so I think it would be healthy and transparent to look at updating that document.
So just to ask our team, are we already planning on giving us CSA 86 and all of the CSAs during our fiscal year budget coming up?
Yes, we are going to be including that in the fiscal year. I know that we go through for the special districts. The assessment is coming shortly, and we are planning to give a more in-depth presentation, and we can possibly incorporate that with the mid-year budget, but that's coming up very quickly. Otherwise, with our regular budget workshops, we
okay with
can
that, having it come up
do so.
during that?
Well, I think it's very important to actually have it in writing, and I would appreciate to put it in writing that it gets accomplished. We get all these awards for the finance, and we talked about our strategic vision, having transparency, and I think it would be important for that document to be updated.
Maybe all of us just want to be clear on what it is that you're asking for, the document to be updated. What does that
The
mean?
CSA 86 budget document to be updated for more transparency.
So to get clarification, Councilman Estrada, would you like to see the existing current year budget information, or would you like to see that incorporated to the next year's budget?
The next
more
year's
information?
budget, I would like the document updated.
Okay. We can plan to present that at the budget workshop and in a format that would be reflected in the future budget book. So if that would be, I believe we have that on the calendar for May. If so that'll be coming up very soon in the next 2 months.
Okay, so there are a few things I feel are important to include in it, and I'm gonna hold you to your word that we're gonna discuss this, and it's not just forgotten and floating in the air.
So let me just add, so rather than for that have it be a future agenda item, I think what we can commit to you is that when we present the budget at the workshop, typically right now we do a really broad brush approach to all the CSAs. What we can do is probably do a little better job of explaining the fund balance and then the proposed expenditures. Maybe expand the definition of what that CSA is and what it has, and when we present the budget during the workshop to you. Is that acceptable?
I think it's important to have the document be more transparent, tell us what's the fund revenues in it, and I don't want this just to float in the air, so please, I'll bring it back up.
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, I understand, I do understand we've had some discussions. To include the fund balance on the actual budget page, I can see the value in it. And I know we talked, and not everybody got to hear this, so I want to say it so that the whole full council can hear that we are improving. Margarita's done a great job, the finance team, all in support of Margarita, improving our budget book year over year since I've been here, just about 4 years. And that will be one more item that we can continue to improve and create the transparency for the special districts. Another enhancement that we were going to be launching soon is a web page on our website that is going to have a lot more detail on all the special districts. We've been going through and updating it to make sure that it's fully comprehensive, and we'll provide a lot more information. And when that is able to be launched, we'll be sharing that with the public as well. So we will be prepared to present what the budget book would look like at that budget workshop specific to the special districts, including CSA 86.
Okay, we'll see you there.
Council members, any other items? All right, hearing none, we're going to adjourn, and it is 8:58, and thank you, everybody, for a good meeting. Got a lot accomplished.